Let's go. China versus Canada. The horror that I did not want to relive. But anyway, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So let's just get right into it then. Now, Oasis was one of the ones that we didn't have the... Words are hard. I reached over to my mixer to try and pause here. Now, in terms of Oasis, any of the plans that we had for Oasis were against Finland and a GOATS-based team. So we had to kind of improvise there between the quarterfinal and the semifinal match. Now, we wanted to kind of play it as much as we could in the same way. So there were some of the tactics that we kept the same, with like the Pharah Sombra switching to the Pharah Widowmaker if they have McCree. But then on other maps, we tried to do things that we had more prepped towards the group stage. And I think the lack of practice in those kind of hurt our attempts there. But anyway, so one of the things that China did not show against Finland, and they showed quite a few times against us, was their McCree and their Brigida composition. So Canada going into this had been kind of basing what China was going to do on what we had saw them do against Finland. But Rui had stayed up all night, kind of looked at our stuff from the quarterfinals as well as the group stages, and completely changed their plans and their compositions. So kind of the things that I had brought up to the team and we had discussed about how China was going to play and the compositions that they were going to play turned out to be wrong, because kind of China showed up with something that they had never shown before. So this became a little bit of trying to react in the middle of the game and try and figure out a counter while playing in this series. So let's kind of see how it worked out. On the initial attempt here, one of the things that we can do is we can go out with the Sombra here. So Pharah Sombra, again, it's primarily meant to take out goats, but it's good against most compositions. And Pharah is really strong on this map, and Sombra is also just fantastic for doing initial scouting, or is just something that can kind of always pick your engagements. There's things that make Sombra's life more difficult in order to kind of actually play the game, like McCree's existence, for example. But there's not much that really truly hard counters Sombra. There's, if you have your own Sombra, that's probably like the closest thing you can do to hard counter, because your Sombra can either go look for their translocator or like stay in your backline invisible, and then when their Sombra decloaks to attack your backline, you decloak, hack their Sombra so they can't translocate out and kill them. So like the only thing that really fucks a Sombra up, or close to his hard counter, is like the mirror match here. But you'll see that Surefour is going to be using this Sombra here primarily for scouting, whereas Mangachu is likely to stay on the Pharah because it is such a good map. So there the oh, wrong button already. Anyway, so you'll see Surefour try and go around the right side, get a little bit of a different scouting angle. Mangachu scouting from up the top. Surefour didn't leave his translocator in spawn there, which is a bit of a unlucky, but he's going to head back and immediately swap onto Widow. So the idea with this swap here, off of Sombra and onto Widowmaker, is that you want to kind of counter the DPS in any which way you can. So right now we've got the Pharah, which is going to be countering the Brigida, but then we have the Widowmaker, which counters the McCree. Now you might be able to say, okay, but on the other hand, their McCree counters Mangachu on the Pharah. And this is kind of like where the concept of forcing comes into play, in the fact that the Pharah can, take a 1v1 with the McCree. You can drop out of the sky and be like, hi, McCree, and then just like rock, paper, scissors, and then punch each other in the face. Like, Pharah can do that if you want, but McCree doesn't just like randomly grow the ability to fly and go up and punch, Pharah in the face in the sky. So it's not really a big deal that they have a McCree against our Pharah when we have a Widowmaker against their McCree, because now the McCree has 2 threats or 2 jobs, and at the same time, neither of these DPS can get their stuff, like nothing can be forced onto them by Shy on the Brigida. So both our DPS counter Brigida, and then McCree has to do 2 jobs, whereas he only counters 1, but he can't force himself into the matchup where he is at quite a hefty advantage. So that's why this composition works out pretty well. On the downside, what they do have is a lot of poke. So Sky and Leave on the McCree and the Zenyatta here, Note and XQC are in quite a bit of danger. So if they do kind of try and contest the point, they can get sped onto and chain stunned. They're going to take a lot of poke damage. And with Crimzo attached to Mangachu here, on the Pharah, we have pretty low healing, and that Crimzo doesn't want to leave Mangachu because Mangachu wants to get those damage boosted rockets. He's going against a McCree, so he's, if the tanks aren't being poked, it's going to be Mangachu who's constantly under pressure here. So the tanks have to play really safe. High grounds preferably, so they can't get stunned. They can kind of zone out Sky and Leaves angles and whatnot. But let's see how this goes here. So we'll want to play super passive here until we get Surefour on an angle. And then we want to take 2 different angles with the Widowmaker and the Pharah here. So it doesn't have to be different angles in the horizontal. It can be different angles. It's just that Mangachu is floating above this wall here, and then Surefour is kind of on the ground here. So this is about as little of a crossfire as you can get away with, but with Pharah in the sky, and it is still 2 different angles. So Surefour might not be able to shoot Goushway there, but Mangachu, if he moves forward just a little bit, can. So right now, China has taken a really good position. Tanks using this pillar is really good because it allows them to kind of contest both of the potential entrances here, depending on where Note and XQC is going to go. And they can, if Surefour moves close, they can threaten him or they can dive him. It gives them a lot of options here. So what China wants to have happen here is China wants to get the initial cap and kind of punish any tank who tries to prevent that from occurring. So right now, although kind of Mangachu is the one who's got to play super safe because he's taking a lot of shots from Leave, Note and XQC have 7 seconds here in order to find some way to contest the point, while Surefour and Mangachu are trying to, either find headshots or find directs. Because if, for example, Surefour hits a body shot or Mangachu hits like a damage boosted rocket onto somebody like Sky, that could be a trigger. Like if either of them call that out, then XQC and Note could dive onto that target to finish it off very quickly. The danger being that if Brigitte has a health pack or something, that direct body shot or direct rocket can be healed up rather quickly here. So let's see how this goes. So there's both rockets coming in. Now, I think the really cool angle here was from Surefour. Yeah, so this is the angle that Surefour has. Just looking for shots onto Sky, looking for shots onto Shy, looking for shots onto Veltal. But this is kind of removing the places where they can hide from the Widowmaker, where at the same time, Mangachu has now moved a little bit farther into the point to open up this angle. So there's no real spot on this map right now where both any of the squishy targets here can hide from the Widowmaker and the Pharah at the same time. And that's exactly what we want to have happen. So Defense Matrix from Late Young is saving Shy, and Shy's like, oh fuck, I gotta get out of here. The Harmony Orb is down, and both of us are just kind of moving onto point here. And they're low, so we're able to kind of take this point, and then XQC moving in, trying to get that cleave damage onto those supports. He's discorded, though, and in a lot of trouble here. And he's going to jump out. Note gets Goushway, and Mangachu finds Leave. So this is a pretty even matchup in terms of compositions. I think our composition definitely had the advantage here, but if we misplay, then it's pretty easy for China to punish. If XQC had gotten stunned by a flashbang or a shield bash while he was in this position, he could have been deleted pretty easily. But there's just not much that China can do to proactively stop the Widowmaker and the Pharah from essentially free firing until they find something. Sites are just going to give us some opportunity to kind of find out where they're rotating to first. They're coming in. So XQC is right there with the cleave. He's still got his jump. It's unlikely that he's going to be able to get bursted down because Note's going to be right there with the defense matrix, and he's around a corner, which is going to prevent the Discord and the direct shots from McCree from being able to hit him. So he bubbles, gets out, and here's the barrage from Mangachu. Right from behind. Late Young's going to defense matrix that. Note is also going to defense matrix that so that Sky and Leave, who is, both of them are now dead, can't do anything about it. But it's kind of funny when a Pharah rocket barrages and then both divas defense matrix him, because there's reasons for both divas to do the defense matrix here. And with both of them down, right, there's not a lot you can do. McCree and Zenyatta, whenever you're playing this, and this also applies to things like Zenyatta Goats, in that if you're playing like Zenyatta goats against Moira goats or something like that, Moira goats wants to play against Zenyatta goats around corners so that like their Reinhardt or something like that has to turn a corner in order to engage the opponent. But if they do that when they're playing Zenyatta, then Zenyatta isn't able to kind of apply his value to the front line, whereas Moira is. So one of these things is that if you force McCree Zen compositions to play around corners, whether those corners are like vertical high ground or just corners on the map, normal corners of the sort, it can give you an advantage when you're playing heroes that can get value from around corners, like projectiles or anything else that does area denial, cleave, something of that sort. Okay, next fight. China's staying on this. We're still pretty happy about this. You know, we've got XQC's Primal, we've got our defensive support ultimate, so now the main risk of our tanks kind of get bursted down is gone, so we're kind of sitting pretty here. Late Young gets demeched? Late Young, how did you fuck that up? I don't know what he was doing. He fucked up. Bombs to remech, like, okay. And then Banny. Banny finishes off Late Young before he remechs. Nice work, Banny. This is still pretty good. XQC taking a lot of poke damage from that Zen McCree. Has to back out. Shy goes in and finishes him off. Let's watch that again. Okay, so XQC goes forward. For what reason, not super sure. But gets chipped down really fast and then bubbles. And he backs off here. And with Crimzo attached to Mangachu. Or no, Crimzo does manage to get the heals onto XQC here. Bash. Whoop. Boom. Okay. That's well, they're moving in really quick here. The beat is probably going to be able to allow the res to actually get off as long as Note eats the flash. Oh, Note didn't eat the flash. But the barrage is still there. It's going to take out Leave, so we've traded 1 for 1. But Sky pops the Transcendence in order to survive. Mangachu survives. Note bomb. He's going to land on the high ground. Oh, that was cool. Did Shy hit him with the whip shot? That's pretty neat. Where's Shy? Shy, I think, hit Note with the whip shot mid-bomb in order to try and knock him off the high ground so that they can hit him. Because Note wants to land on the high ground, and then Shy's like, get on the low ground. Nice little whip shot there. But Note still airstrafes back onto the high ground. So, didn't work out, but kind of like a little cool micro play there. So gets Remax back on the high ground. We're in trouble here. Gushue jumps in. Banny with the peel. So Banny, I think, thought that Surefour was closer there. Went for the peel play. Gushue is going to chase down Surefour. Uses the primal to do so. Surefour gets back into spawn. And while that is happening, on point, so now it's remeched. What is Late Young doing? It's around here. They get barrier and rally down, so that's probably going to take them through to clean up the fight. Because there's not really much in limited numbers you can do against a rally. There's just so much sustain, and they really don't care. So we got some stalls. We got 90 with 2% here. This is going pretty well. And then Gushue comes back from using Primal. He didn't get anything, but there you go. So now 95%. This is fine. One of the things that we could do here, and this is kind of the difficulty in thinking about how to do counter swaps or whatnot. If you're playing this game from like a purely tactical point of view, you would want to swap immediately to Goats, because Goats is the composition that works best against crushing McCree and Brigitte. So you can, like, if they're trying to hide in Hookah, which is this area. So if you wonder why it's called Hookah, it's because Hookah. Anyway, so in this area, this corner here, this area, like this hallway, is usually kind of referred to as Hookah. So if there's a support pair sitting in this area, like if you're stashed your Zenyatta back here or something like that, you need to kind of get them out of here. But in order to get them out of here, if you're playing dive, it's pretty difficult to do. So the proper play here for Canada is to immediately swap to Goats and then just run at them, basically. You can go Ana Goats. Ana Goats is fine. You wouldn't want to go Zenyatta Goats because it's honestly just not necessary, and it gives Gushue more opportunity to kind of look for targets and kind of poke holes in your composition by getting a lot of cleave that you can't immediately out-heal. So Moira would be fine here. Ana would be fine here. You just wouldn't want to go like a Zenyatta Goats or something like that. So for whatever reason, we decided not to do that. It's probably because we had 2 ultimates that we wanted to stay on this, and it was working so well for us. But if you wanted to just take things super easy and go for the hard counter, you would just go Goats here and then chase either the Zenyatta, the Brigitte, or the McCree and just run at them basically and kill them because they can't survive against you. They can't get value. The only real way they can do anything against you is if they do the chain stun against like your Reinhardt after you're out of your projected bubble, but then Note's going to be able to tank that or just defense matrix both the shots and the secondary stun. So yeah, Goats would be the best play here, which does not work out for us because we don't play it. So let's still see how we decide to retake here. Mangachu is immediately on the high ground, and Surefour. So, all right, setting up those 2 different angles. This is really good so far. Mangachu doesn't have Crimza with him at the moment. Just poking around, poking around. Leave, like the back line there, still kind of sitting in the halls there. They're able to retreat to Hookah if they need. And now we've kind of got Surefour is trying to reposition, and XQC gets stunned out and killed. Unlucky. And he gets stunned, so he can't even activate Primal. So how does this happen? Okay, so XQC is here. Did he not know that Shy and Sky were there? Maybe not. Discorded, jumped, stunned, and killed while stunned, so he can't Primal. Okay, that sucks. That should be a reset, because we need Winston. Gusher's just gonna poke it. No needs to get out. Banny, this is really good from Banny. So if you look at Banny here, he's going to go and just help Surefour get out. Right, top left of your screen. Banny goes to Surefour and helps him escape. Surefour, run! And then discorded shot from Leave is going to take out Mangachu, prolong that stun. Crimzo should be able to res that. Unfortunately, that means we won't have a res for the middle of the fight. And now we've kind of wasted about 40% because we wanted to hold on to these 2 ultimates, which, you know, it probably would have been better just to counter the composition without ultimates than to bank on these ultimates to try and take out a composition where you're more evenly matched here. We're coming back in. See how this is working. Surefour is playing really close here. Really close. And where's Mangachu? Mangachu's still above, so we've got this set up. XQC's jumping in, and he's going to try and isolate the backline. The isolation doesn't work because they just move right past his bubble. So his isolation play not working. Didn't cut anybody off. High Noon comes out from Leave at the same time we barrage. Light Young uses all of his Matrix. Sky uses the Transcendence. And Mangachu gets taken out.
Time to raise my APM.
So we got our barrage out. We got our Valkyrie out. And XQC still has Primal, but hasn't need to use it. So again, even more reason for us to swap off this composition and go to Goats. But we have delayed this, and we've basically given them kind of 50-55 extra percentage. Everyone's just going to get chased down. And China's going to return to the point. Do we swap to Goats here? With Mangachu on Brigitte, that should be the time where we swap to Goats. And we're going on a Goats. That's a good call. It's only 65% too late. And now, I believe we kind of try and go Hookah here, because this is the plan to go Hookah, with them having them on the high ground. So one of the great things from China here is, like, look at their positioning in this fight, right? So look at how they're set up for this fight. Is that they've got their backline on the high ground, right? They've got their backline on the high ground, and we're going Goats. Now I want you to compare this to how they defended the fight before. Let's look how they set up the fight before. So they stay on the low ground, stay in halls. They're defending their same composition, standing right up close, trying to remove the angles, But then when you're defending against Goats, where was it? Oh, no, that's still too far. When you're defending against Goats, they take a different position. So this is really, really good positioning from China, depending on what they're playing against. So as soon as they recognize Goats, they rotate to the high ground, and they defend here, which is the proper play. So knowing that it's a difference between wanting to defend on high ground, where they want the sight lines and they want the high ground, compared to defending in areas where they're controlling like territory and corners, trying to like play outside of the sight lines. So the same composition played in two different ways can give them, advantages based on what we're attacking with. So this is like really, really, really smart play from China. And we're going to go, are we going underneath? No, we're going to go through hookah. Now this is the play that we had talked about and planned, right? We want to go upstairs to make them drop off high ground so we can chase them, right? So Sky and Lave are doing really good because these two are these two are the main targets. If we can't get if we can't get one of these two targets, we can go for Shy here, but going for McCree and Zenyatta is obviously the better play if we can get on top of them. But one of the things that we're not going to do is go onto point and just try and like brawl them out against tanks who can retreat onto the high ground. The Zenyatta and the McCree who can just free fire from the high ground. It's going to make Banny and Crimzo really far exposed. Dallas Fuel, Burn Blue. Is that a new emote? I need that emote. How do I get that emote? Oh, I need that emote. New emotes, baby. Oh, man. I need them. I don't have a Fuel emote on my channel, do I? Man, they look so good. I love that Burn Blue emote. Gonna have to put those on my channel. Anyway, so you want to, because if you try and like fight on the point, there's just so many things that are real bad, especially for the backline there. Like Sky and Leave, just like 2-tap any of our supports. So we need to flush. Problem here is that it gives us this choke point is really rough, and we need to clear it as fast as possible. So we're gonna go up. Veltal tries to go for the boops. Gushui gets up. He's going to get Primal. He's at 97%, but he's going to get Primal here. Now, Note's going to have to bomb here. Why did Note bomb? So Note boosts at Leave and Sky, turns back, goes forward again. Oh, he does get demexed. That's a lot of damage from Leave and Sky there. So now the thing is that we've cleared them off the high ground, which was like step 1 of the plan of retaking this against goats. Crimson gets booped back. How did they actually get knocked off there? Did Veltal get a boop as well or something? So Veltal does not get Mangachu. So here's the bomb to remech. Veltal's still around this corner. So Gushui bumps up. Veltal did get the boop. Rough. And Gushui's Primal gets Banny. I remembered Gushui Primaled there, but I thought it was him who got the knockoff, not Veltal. So I remembered it incorrectly. Anyway, so we got to the... we executed our plan as well as we could have. But they caught us kind of off guard on that high ground. So as soon as we got them to drop, right... As soon as we got them to drop and Note had remeched, we needed to pick a target. It could have been Leave, it could have been Sky, it could have been Shy. Any one of those three would have been fine. But the only thing that was holding us back was Note kind of lost his mech and needed to remech. And then in that like 2 or 3 second pause while we were stabilizing, Veltal gets 2 boops and Gushui gets the 3rd. And because we kind of like fucked around on compositions, wanting to get value out of Valkyrie and Primal, this is going to be the only attempt we have at taking out this composition, and we're going to lose the map because of it. So this is kind of one of those places where both teams played okay. You know, there were some micro mistakes from Canada, and then we swapped onto the correct macro decision too late. And, you know, they had ultimates, and we just had an unlucky. They got some boops, and they're going to take the map because of it. But so far, teams seem pretty evenly matched. Reddit Lucio is the term for a Lucio who wants to frag instead of support for his team and peel for his supports. So that's kind of like a rough start. You know, Canada was in a good position to win that. A little bit of uncertainty or hesitation on the swaps, and then we're going to go onto this point here. Now, this point, China big braided us again. So it should be pretty obvious for any team that scouts Canada that we put a ton of emphasis onto scouting and counterpicking, right? We put a lot of emphasis onto that. It's one of the things that Canada is really good at, is kind of scouting the opponent early and making sure that we're always playing optimal compositions, or at least should be. Like in the game against China, for some reason, you know, the wires that are like, make sure we get on the composition meant for the job crossed, and, you know, especially in Blizzard World, that really didn't work out well for us. But here you can see two things kind of go wrong for Canada. First of all, we weren't able to scout. We're playing on a composition that wasn't very, you know, it's not very scout friendly. Normally we have things like Divas being able to boost vertically. We have things like Sombras being able to take different angles, and we can counter swap. But here, China's rollout big brains us. So look at China's rollout here. So China goes underneath. Can't scout me if I'm underground. They go around, and then they go up the stairs. So now you can see Note is like, the fuck? Note's looking for him. He's, you know, Note's got this angle. He's got this angle if he wants. He can fly around. And then, you know, we can see down this little corridor here. We're looking around for him, and we don't know where we are. Now, right now, they're on a composition that it's not like a super hard counter. You know, the Sombra there, depending on how the Sombra plays, can either give them a large advantage or a weaker Goats composition. So, like, as a whole, the Goats composition, when you add Sombra in, reduces its power because it either has less healing or less tanking. On the upside, if you're playing it against Goats and you land a hack on something like XQC or Note, then these really highly mobile tanks can no longer run away or protect themselves, and you can just run on them and delete them here. So Canada right now is kind of like, look around, and our first goal is always like, should we be staying on this composition? And we stay on this composition for longer than we should because we, A, can't scout them, and then I think the decision, once we see the Sombra at 15 seconds, right? Because tab menu shows up at 15 seconds. So Surefour is automatically going to be like, are they going to come up from behind us? That's probably what he's checking here. But we still don't know where they are. But Banny at about 15 seconds here should be immediately checking the tab window to see what they have. And I think the existence of their Sombra convinces us to stay on this composition. Also, because we know at this point in time, we can't get to spawn, swap, and come back and actually contest first point. So the reasons we stay here, we weren't able to scout fast enough. The Sombra convinces us we have a chance, and if we were to swap, we would be instantly giving up first point capture. And this being kind of like the second game of the the control map where we're down one, could be, you know, the start of what really kind of, you know, spells disaster. So I want to see kind of who did Banny. What did Banny do here? Did he immediately start heading back to spawn? I want to see, like, hopefully Banny's like where he's looking. Yeah, scouting, looking underneath. He's gonna hit tab. Sees them. Yep, he amps speed. So that was called a swap. But then somebody else calls Sombra. So with the amp speed there, right? This gives you a really, really good idea of kind of what Canada was thinking here. With Banny amping speed, he wants everybody back to spawn and onto something different. But then either he or somebody else on the team called out that, oh, they have Sombra, we can probably stay on this. And then that call was made, and you trust your teammates, so you stay on this call. So indecision here is pretty much Canada's weakness. This also allowed China to kind of get out of the choke point that they gave themselves, take positional advantage, and now we're again at a disadvantage. So we're coming back in here. XCC jumps up, going for some cleave. Mangachi wants to knock him back just to be able to get the people to have more cleave here. There was a hack onto what target got hacked? What did Shy hack? Shy hacks Note? Is that who got hacked? Banny. Ooh, that sucks. Still gets the healing pack on him, but that really sucks in terms of like AoE heals and speed to be able to run away from Goats. So Note's going to get demeched. Mangachu's low. And we give first cap anyway. XCC jumps out. Surefour gets taken out. Ugh. And then we're probably... Are we going to swap here? It's best if we swap. XQC's staying on. Yep. So we're going to pick the Sombra Doom. Sombra Doom's a good choice on this map. Really good choice on this map. There's reasons why Sombra Doom is good on this map. You can hack this Mega so that your tanks, when you have the more mobile tanks, you can drop into this pit, grab the hacked Mega, and then jump back out. You know, you can have this mini hacked. I'm not sure if you would have both hacked. It really depends kind of like on the flow in the game. Trying to keep 2 minis hacked while being in combat, like 2 packs hacked, while being in combat effective on Sombra can be difficult. So you would definitely want to have that mega hacked. But then this high ground here gives some great places for Mangachu to both stage from and retreat too. So if he kind of starts here, comes in with Seismic, boom, uppercut, and he can punch back out. Or if he thinks he can hard commit, he'll just use the fall of the uppercut to charge up his punch. So it gives him 2 options, right? Slam in, uppercut to kill 1. If he thinks he can hard commit, the punch will be charged up while he's falling back to earth. If not, you can just tap punch and get back to the high ground immediately. So this is a pretty good map for Sombra Doomfist. XQC's just hiding. Gushui already has hammer. Sky already has nano. So we fed them quite a bit of ult charge in that little hesitation fight. XQC's moving in, trying to get more cleave here. His bubbles goes down. Surefour just in the back, farming EMP. And Gushui's hammer lands 2. Kills Mangachu. Surefour's just farming EMP in the back like a champion. China's doing a really good job. We saw Finland make the mistake where they kind of chased, like Finland and France both made the mistake where they chased the Sombra there. So Late Young tried to get Surefour to translocate, but you can see he's existed here for basically the entire fight, just trying to farm EMP, and he's gotten to 73% there. So we're coming up on ultimate now. Like the next fight, 43%, not the end of the world here. Bad news for us, they have EMP and they have Graviton. So this is kind of one of the fickle things, I suppose, about control maps at the higher level, is there's only a certain number of team fights in control, and first cap is super important, and then after that, if they have ult advantage for like the 2 fights after that, then they're always going to end up in like a 99-0 situation, and that it is entirely possible for a game that goes like 100 to 99 to have not been close at all. So kind of what I mean by that is that if one team kind of wins the first fight, gains an ultimate advantage off of that, and then they win the next 2 fights off of the ultimates that they gained and the kind of the steamroll or the snowball from winning the 2 fights after that, the final fight there, they'll be low on ultimates and the opponents will have ultimates. They'll use their ultimates to take the point, but then after that, like the defenders didn't really care. The defenders will simply set things up because they know they only need to win 1 fight after that, come in and just take it. So fights that are like control maps that go 99 to 100, it's entirely possible that one team was completely in control of the map the entire time. No panic, no question about it. So this is something where this could be a situation that China is setting up here. Is they won the first fight because of our indecision. They won the second fight because of ultimates, and they're probably going to win this fight because of ultimates, which will put us into a final fight position in a situation where we have ultimates, we'll probably take it, and then maybe immediately losing. Okay, so let's take a look. Coming in, they've got EMP and Grav. They don't even have to kill, like, all of us. They can kill 2 of us, and that'll be more than enough to kind of shut this push down. So here, Surefour is just trying to get his EMP. Grav gets thrown. Banny gets taken out, but Surefour in the background gets taken out. Crimzo using trance here. Let's see about this. Let's see this trance here. Okay, so this is one of the things, like, remember when I was talking in the China versus the Finland game that Leave has a tendency to just yeet Gravitons, like, super, super early? He just, if he has it, he uses it, like, right at the start of the fight, almost every time. So he does it again, and this is something that I warned the players about quite a bit. But, so Leave is going to use this, oh, damn. Leave is going to use this super early. Surefour's flanking around, wants to get that last bit of ult charge. It gets Banny. That's all they really needed, and Surefour dies in an unrelated situation. And what caused this Transcendence to be used?
Pass into the eyes.
I think that was a mistake. XQC should have Primal, though. Gets shy.
Nerf this.
Gushui low. Late Young's going to remech.
All systems checked out.
And we come back in with EMP. XQC's super low. They counter EMP. Crimzo survives that. Leave has the potential to kill like 4 here. Oh, he gets taken out by Surefour. We do get the cap. Chaos.
Mecha activated.
Is that hacked? It's not hacked. XQC's going to get it. Jump back up. We barrier to keep XQC alive. Hammer takes out Banny. We're not going to be able to save him.
Meteor strike. Pass into the iris.
What a chaotic fight this one was. Can you get Veltal? It gets bubbled and Mangachu gets hacked. And then EMP just for good measure. Shy gets taken out though. Oh my god. This is chaos. I'm going to have to look at this fight again. Okay, so we hold. Let's take a look at this again. Now, we did something similar to France, right? No, am I? Yeah. So this happened on France, or it happened in the France game, where on Mecha base, we were one player down. We were one player down, not two players down, and we decided to, like, stay in it. So this is kind of like the analogy where I was talking about Goats being like a battleship. And that Goats is like a singular ship, and that if you kind of lose your Reinhardt or you lose your Lucio or something like that, you know, your ship as a whole becomes weaker. But in kind of like the Sombra Doomfist composition, you have kind of a bunch of really individually powerful ships. So you have like 6 destroyers, for example. And even if one of your ships sinks, in this analogy, then you still have quite a bit of firepower operating at peak condition. You know, you still have your EMPs, you still have the ability to turn things around with your Doomfist and whatnot. So, and whatnot, right? But Doomfist here, where am I trying to go with this? Words are hard. It's easier for the Sombra Doomfist composition to win when you're 1 or 2 down than on pretty much any other composition, unless you're like your sniper, for example, clutches. But even in double sniper matchups, so much of the tank and support game is based around, you know, assisting those snipers from finding their angles, the sight lines, the supports being able to pocket them and res them, the tanks contesting grounds and angles so that the snipers can't get value. You know, Sombra and Doomfist dive compositions are the compositions that can act the best despite being down in numbers. And so this is something that we've done before and something that we've talked about, is situations where it's okay to fight one down. But I'm not sure if this kind of satisfies the condition for where you would fight. So Surefour's at 80%. Decloak's on Late Young. Right? Late Young defense matrix it. Boops Surefour back.
Огонь по готовности.
And just dies to him. Crimzo's here. He knows that Banny died, but they have Transcendence. Mangachu comes in and takes out Shy. And we're pushing back in with that. Mangachu comes in, misses the punch on Veltal. XQC's antied, but he's got Primal, so he's going to jump after Sky. This is good. Primal to kill Sky, that's also very good. Sleep Dart misses. Lucky. Probably would have been woken up anyway. Veltal trying to beat to save Sky, but it's not going to work out. Mangachu's got another punch he's going to charge up. He's going to throw it at Late Young, trying to get some extra, I guess. I don't know why Late Young was the target there. Probably the best target he had. Charge comes out from Gushui. Not going to... Oh, is XQC going to jump into that? Nope. Walks away. And Late Young going to use the bomb. Makes the rest of the backline back off here, while XQC is deep. XQC should escape here still, though. He does. Now, leave Gushui still low, and we've managed to take out Sky here, so like their main source of healing is dead, and we're going to EMP here. Unfortunately, Leave's personal bubble was up, which means that he's not going to be EMP'd, and he gets the extra energy from the bubble breaking. XQC is low, has to retreat. Surefour lands on the high ground to help with breaking a Late Young. Shy's EMP comes in. Crimzo gets hit, but he's going to escape because Late Young can't pursue. And they're going to be moving back in here. Late Young, it just jumps the wall from the ejection of the Diva Bomb. Leaves coming in. There's 2 targets that are like 1 HP, and he could kill them. He wants to get them, but he gets taken out by Surefour. And then Veltal's trying to come in. Late Young got Diva's mech just by jumping over that wall. Surefour gets taken out by Veltal at like 1 HP. Veltal needs to die. He's been so low like this entire fight. It's crazy. XQC's back up at full HP. Getting some cleave. Doesn't really know Veltal's still low there. Get Veltal. Okay, we're not. That Mega's not up because we don't have it hacked. Banny beats to keep XQC in it because now we're committed. Gushui hammers. He's discorded. Banny would be the kind of guy who saves people, you know, from hammer with the boop and whatnot. But since he's the one who's hammered, it's not going to do anything. That's going to cause XQC to die. Crimzo almost has another Transcendence. He gets it, so we've used 3 support ultimates in this fight now. Note finishes off Sky. Light Young gets taken out as well. Mangachu goes deep. He's going to finally kill Nope, jokes. Velto's immortal. Now EMP comes out. Beat comes out, but it doesn't save Shy. Gushui's charge doesn't find anything, and he's discorded. Punch from Mangachu is enough to retreat, and Surefour finishes off Gushui. Whoa! Chaotic fight. Both teams really committing to that one. Surefour, I say Surefour, but I meant Canada. Like, all of Canada didn't really have that choice. So after Crimzo used the EMP there, so I'm not sure why Surefour died right at the start. I don't think he was hacked. I think he just wanted as much EMP charge as possible. He just gets taken out there. But as soon as Crimzo's trance occurs when we're 2 down, we have to commit to this. So we go in, and then the trades just go in our favor. Both teams played, you know, as well as can be expected in a very chaotic fight. But Canada's going to take this, and through all of that, we come out of this super, super lucky because we have EMP again. So now we have that win condition. Leave's still got another grab, which he's probably going to yeet the first thing he sees. But, you know, I would suspect that we kind of just set up a kill box and EMP them at the choke. So we should be able to win this fight, but the fight afterwards, not so sure about. We win this fight. Hopefully we get like 70 or 80% to our support ultimates. We might be able to win the one after that. But let's see what we decide to do here. Mangachu should go back to the high ground. Yep. Okay, so where is Surefour setting up? Surefour is maybe scouting them right now? Where are you, Surefour? Oh, Surefour's at Mini. Okay. Did he hack Mini? Mini's not hacked. Mega's not hacked. Okay. That's fine, because that was a really chaotic fight, so it could have expired there. Let's see how this works. Well, that's not convenient. Okay, so Surefour is hiding right there.
Apagando las luces.
Gonna EMP. Does get leave. That's good. We're gonna jump in on this. Light Young's right there. They're trying to get out. They shouldn't be able to. Gushui gets punched and taken out, but Surefour dies again. We get Brigitte and the D-Mech, so that's a 1 fight. We don't have to hard engage here. We can just back off. Good enough. Yep, good fight there. So this is what we're kind of about. Like, the kill boxes on this map are just either one of those arches. It's fine. Either one of those arches. Now, we did get trance out of that fight, so that's good. Now we got to rely on our Transcendence to basically stay alive until we can get Barrier. Like, both of our tanks have support or tank ultimates, so we have the potential to win this map. We absolutely have the potential to win this map here. So, leave spy checking. Good job, but doesn't really matter because Surefour is not going to have EMP, so he's not going to do the same play twice. They're coming in here. So we're executing. Mangachu and XQC going in at the same time. Unfortunately, the Seismic Slam doesn't find anything. Shy's trying to peel. Mangachu bumps Gushui, a discorded Gushui out of his bubble. Great. And this is, like, so the Flying Goats composition, when we're talking about, this is one of the first times that we were, like, really looking at the Flying Goats composition, as it has been termed, like floats, or for example. But one of the reasons that we weren't super worried about this composition was that we knew, or at least on paper, discussed it and said that Doomfist Sombra should be even better against floats than against normal goats, in the fact that they have a Winston, and whereas you like uppercut a Reinhardt or something like that, and Reinhardt goes with his shield, and then they also have a hammer down where they can use and we can't really block because we don't have a Reinhardt of our own. You know, those are things that you really, really have to play around in goats. In floats, you don't, and your Doomfist can just like uppercut Winston out of his bubble and do a fucking ton of damage to him. a crazy amount of damage to him. So when we were talking about China's Goats composition here, we thought that Sombra Doom would be even better against it than Goats. But, and another reason, this is one of the reasons why we brought it out against France, United Kingdom in the bronze medal game, is because we knew that France didn't play Sombra Doom. So one of the main reasons that we weren't worried about this composition from China is because we thought that our normal counter had just become even stronger. So Transcendence from Crimzo. Banny's going to be able to get his barrier. Bomb is not going to find... Oh, it might get Note. You think he cleared enough distance? Note's like, fuck. Get in the corner.
Nerf this.
XQC's getting healed up. A lot of damage on him through that Discord there. Note's bomb is out. So both tank multis have committed. We still have Primal, though. Mangachu's back in there. Uppercut.
I'm back in the fight.
Punch coming back down. Is he going to use that to escape? He would probably want to use that to escape there. Oh, he's got Meteor.
Meteor strike.
I didn't even check. Now, at 94%, where are you going to want to go, Mangachu? You just going to go back to the point? Could go on Late Young. Late Young would be a pretty good kill here, unless like Mangachu knows that he's tracked bubbles. So if he knows that Leave has bubbles, then he probably won't go for it. Yeah, so he kind of goes for like the neutral play, where he can go in farther. Shy gets taken out, though. He has to shield. XQC cleaves him down. And this should be Canada's win. So, this was risky. Canada gets the map, but it was pretty lucky, honestly. Benny's like, celebratory beat! Woo! So it was pretty lucky. That one chaotic fight where Crimson decided to trance when we were 2 down,
Ready for battle.
it worked. Like, that was the reason why we kind of pulled it around there. But that was fighting on a knife edge, that one. That was fighting on a knife edge. Okay. Now, this composition is something that we practiced for the group stage quite a bit. It didn't work against the U.S. when we played it, because we played Oasis against the U.S., but we knew why it didn't work. We just picked a poor hiding spot. So with this composition, one of the things you can do is you can set up like really, really nice kill boxes and kind of like speed on and delete anybody. So when you're talking about like stun meta with like Brig Cree and whatnot, it's just a really... It's taking like the whole offensive way of playing Brigitte and McCree and taking it to the next level. And then you have your like Note between fights will kind of like just chill out on this high ground here, and he can see targets doing a lot more damage. And if targets kind of get caught in these kill boxes, Note is free to just like shell out the damage on whatever target he wants here. Now the problem, I'll show you kind of why this doesn't work for us.
3, 2, 1.
So we go out, and we're going to want to like take the shortcut because we want to be at full health when we actually go and get them. So it's funny enough that China is actually using our rollout that we would have done if we were staying on Brigitte and McCree. It's just amusing to me that we kind of came up with the exact same rollout. But anyway, so we look around, get some information, we know where they are, and then there's one mistake here. That mistake is going to be, so we've got Amp, and Amp is coming out. See, Note's already setting up this crossfire because he wants to just be using his damage. You know, his really long, he's got farther fall off than McCree, so he wants to be applying a ton of damage onto targets. So he's in a really good position. But then Surefour kind of jumps the gun here, in that XQC needs to jump in and isolate. But in the same way that if you're kind of wanting to do a dive with Doomfist and Sombra, the reason that your tanks are going in, like the main reason your tanks are going in, is because you want to protect your Doomfist from stuns, hacks, anything like that. You're just like going in to protect the DPS to allow them to be aggressive for just like a couple more seconds here. But XQC's jump is just a little bit late. So right here, Surefour gets hit real hard, and he has to Wraith, which is not good. And then XQC jumps just a second later after Surefour has been forced to Wraith and goes for the bubble. And like his bubble is a little bit too close. You would have wanted to kind of be putting it probably around the team, so you kind of separate the back line and the front line, because things you want the Brigitte and the Lucio to be as isolated from the rest of the team as possible, so that their AoE and whatnot doesn't apply to anything. So after that, it really doesn't matter what targets you speed onto. It's just whatever is in the front, because you're going to be able to just stun that And then on Brigida and McCree, you can chain stun. So you can use the Brigida Shield Bash to do the initial 1.0 second stun, and then after that, you can use the Flash to get the additional 0.7 seconds. But when you're running a Reaper and you're speeding right on top of things, the Brigida Shield Bash, the Discord, even a Diva, for that 1 second should be able to get demeched here. So you'll see kind of how poorly this works out. So we come in. Looks like we're deciding that we're going to go against Shy, probably. So, Mangachu goes for the bash onto Sky. So, it's not the frontline target. Shy's here. And then Gushui comes back with just a ridiculous amount of cleave on us. So, this is not something that we like as well. Because, right, we're playing the Lucio Zenyatta Brigida. So, we do not like cleave damage. Now, normally, if we're playing this, Winston is a perfectly viable target, and this isn't an issue. But because we missed taking out one target with Sky here, so we went for Sky. If we had gotten Shy, probably still wouldn't have been able to kill him because Late Young would have had the Matrix on him. But, it's possible. So our kind of initial engagement here has failed. They're getting cleave on us. They're going to survive our attempt. Surefar's already blown his Wraith. So this is just going to lead to a pretty big fucking rip for us. So we lose Mangachu. XQC's dead. And then you'll see us just immediately either suicide and swap. So this composition is best for surprising an opponent, taking first fight, and then after that holding. But no, anytime you lose this point with this composition, you immediately swap. Just no questions. Regardless of ultimate status, you swap immediately. So this time, this map has a lot of high ground. It's pretty hard to do the same thing that we were talking about on Gardens to like flesh out high ground with goats, especially since the tanks can stay on you, like use this high ground to constantly cleave you. So we're just going to match on Brigida and McCree. Now, one of the difficulties about this composition is that it's super hard to flip this point because they can be so evasive, they can be high grounds, they can be playing on the other side of the point, and it's hard to get like a really decisive cap. Now, the advantage that the defenders have on this map is the fact that the Zenyatta and the McCree can stay on the high ground and that they can't kind of be rushed down or anything like that. You saw on Gardens how easy it was for Note to get demeched by just going after those two alone. So even having your tanks kind of like try and control this high ground against like a Zenyatta McCree can be very challenging. So the benefit that the defenders have in this composition is that they can control this high ground. What the attackers have is that with their McCree on the low ground, first of all, he's going to be guaranteed to be playing within his fall off, and you have your stun on the ground. With McCree up here, doesn't get the benefit of the stun. McCree down here does get the benefit of the stun. So the main kind of objective here, if we're playing this as we discussed it, would be to kind of go tanks, pressure tanks, and then be able to speed onto them, and take them out. So it kind of plays like mini goats. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to go right to point, going to rotate all the way around to traffic side. This is good play because you want to be as far away from the advantage that the defenders have, that advantage being the high ground. So this is really good rollout from Canada, but now we need to find some way that we can actually force an engagement and use our stuns in order to take out a target. So far, all goes well. Leave is on the high ground. Where is their Zen? Zen is low ground. Interesting. So this could, if we recognize this, we could have gone for a play to like try and force Leave out of the high ground, but we're going to stick with our play of trying to remove the advantage of the high ground for as much as possible and focus a ground-based target. What is Surefour shooting at? Surefour shooting at Leave. Okay. Here we go. Bubbles down. Leave. Shy boosts in. Mangachu counter stun. Are we going on to Gushui? So stun hits Gushui instead of Shy. And now they're going to kind of back off. Late Young gets flashed there. Super low, not enough to take him down. XQC is just going to sit here. And now we kind of have to wait for another opportunity because we need to kind of engage with those stuns in order to end this fight pretty decisively. Leave's trying to roll away from the fight. XQC seeing that. He doesn't quite have Primal. He's jumping in. Is he going to go for isolation? Oh, Surefour's little flank takes out Late Young. That was good.
I'm gonna have to shoot you down.
No, XQC just jumped to the other side to finish off Mini Diva. Mangachu a little bit on his own here. His stun again gets interrupted onto Gushui and not on Shy. But Shy, based on winning the first fight, is going to activate Rally and counter push. So this is something that Surefour likes to do, is kind of look for these flanks. And this is something that's really powerful in things like Ranked. But when you are going for these kind of stuns or whatnot, you want to be working with your Zenyatta and your McCree together and your Mangachu and Surefour together. So Surefour goes for this flank on the backside and gets a lot of damage here. So a lot of kind of like poke damage and whatnot. And it does manage to get the D-Mech onto Late Young. But with this kind of gets Mangachu and Crimzo split from him. So we kind of go like water 2 different ways around that same central objective. And it causes us to get split. So short-term gains for long-term losses, basically, by doing that little split. So it didn't look like Crimzo and Mangachu knew that Surefour had kind of gone back the other way. So we got split here. How you doing, Color Hex? Good to see you.
Time to leave, my
XQC going
BPM.
over here. You see, like, we're all committed to rotating, have rotated around this left side. And then Surefour is just kind of in the back here. So, you know, if this works, like if Surefour encounters like a, you know, lone Veltal or something like that and gets a flash and a kill, this has like the potential to carry. But at the same time, this is like a very solo Q-esque play and not a very team-based play. So if we're kind of like with us, then we are having the same targets that are Discord or being shot by McCree, you know, getting more heals. And if China decides to turn on Surefour, like he's fucked, right? What is the rest of Canada going to do if China turns on Surefour here? Pretty much nothing. Surefour is just going to die.
I'm gonna have to shoot you down. Allah team Mecha activated.
There's no
Okay, so China, they get that win. You know, that little split there could have given us the advantage. It didn't end up working. So we got split, and China wins that fight. What is chat getting baited about? What's going on with 200 words? I gotta check this out. What is chat getting baited by? I have no idea what's going on in chat right now. Like, it's not that, you know, you're never going to be engaging. I see the comment about Note and XQC engaging harder than supports were ready to heal. That's kind of not really what matters. As long as you engage and get more value, like if you win the fight and both your tanks are at like 100 HP, hooray! You know, suddenly Banny and Crimzo's really low kind of rate of healing is going to give them a lot of advantage between the fight, where you can kind of like heal them up during the kind of the break, as well as kind of farm those ults between the fight. You know, you don't have to keep your tanks at 100% health throughout an engagement. You just have to get more value, and if XQC goes in, isolates the team, you know, splits them up, gets a ton of cleave, dies for it, but then that action allowed the rest of the team to like get 3 or something like that, XQC might have died, but he did an action that kind of led to the winning of the team fight. You don't have to keep your tanks at full health for the duration of the fight, and doing so will get you killed. So I see what you're saying there, but no, it's you'll see that in like really close fights, tanks will kind of play with exactly how aggressive they can be without dying, unless they see an opportunity to trade and get more value than their death would lose from their team. So back to the high ground. Are they going to get Sky on the high ground this time? So they are going to keep Sky on the high ground this time. We want to go back to traffic. XQC's kind of... We're going to take a shortcut. We're going to cheat. We're going to take some poke damage. It would be nicer to kind of go out the other side where we don't have to heal up in the middle of it. But so a little bit of an advantage from China just because we took a shortcut. XQC gets a nice bubble on there. Leaves High Noon is out. Surefour's High Noon is out. Where's XQC? He used Primal.
into the iris.
Okay. Let's take a look at this again. So let's take a look specifically at what XQC is doing. So XQC goes onto point here. And he's going to jump over here. Drops Leave into his bubble. And then he splits Shy. Veltal decides to go with Leave, but Shy has been split off from Leave. Veltal, tanks are really far forward. And what are we doing?
It's high noon.
So we go for the High Noon play here. But one of the things that this provided like a ton of opportunities for us that we didn't capitalize on, right? So we could have gone in and probably put a lot of damage onto a tank or get a stun play on. But Mangachu's stun goes out onto Late Young there. Doesn't look like Surefour is a position to follow up on. So our chain stuns just aren't occurring. On the good side, we get a rally, and with the Discord onto Shy, that's going to lose China the fight unless they commit a trance, which they do. Late Young also throws a bomb in. And then we also execute our own trance. So we still have the advantage, but Banny drops to the bomb, which kind of makes this more or less neutral. I say neutral just because we trans second. Veltao, however, is going to commit the second support ultimate, which is going to give China the advantage.
I'm back in the
Surefour is getting pushed really hard. He gets stunned. We're keeping him alive just barely. Gooshui's jumping after him as well. Mangachu gets split here. I'm not sure how he got knocked so far away. And Sky is trying to go after Crimzo. Mangachu's like, no. Shy's low. Still discorded. XQC and Note going to get him. Looks like they are.
Matrix
Nice.
activated.
Surefour's still like, fuck.
I'm gonna have to
Gets
shoot
the mini.
you down.
There's still 3 people on him. Is he going to get Harmony on him in time? Nope, not quite in time. And then, as soon as Surefour goes down, that's going to trigger Gooshui's Primal, and XQC died to Sky over here. Unlucky. So, the reason why we're losing this map, China's just playing their McCree and their Brigida a lot cleaner than us, a ton cleaner. We're trying to go for like little, flanky plays or whatnot, and then the coordination between XQC and our backline isn't there. So China playing a much cleaner McCree and Brigida composition than we are, and it's showing in the results.
Overtime.
APM 좀 올려볼까?
So this map could have gone to Canada pretty easily. Like if we hadn't fucked up Gardens, we could have won that. We did win Night Market, not Night Market, sorry, University, because of how close it was. We got a little bit lucky there, but very much could have won. No good Steam Act through the Transcendence. That's unfortunate. So this was solidly like in the winnable category for Canada, but in terms of like this map here on City Center, China definitely outplayed us at this composition. So this is one of the things that caught us really off guard about China's play, is just how clean their Brigida and their McCree play was. So this was not something that was scouted and not something that we expected. Okay. Are we good? There we go. Okay. So that's the first map. It's a bit of a surprise. Not what we expected China to play. Doing things to kind of try and counter our scouting. The Brigida and the McCree composition being as strong and as clean as China is playing it here is also a really big threat to our game plan here in terms of Sombra and Doomfist, because Sombra Doomfist is most heavily countered by Brigida and McCree, right? So this is kind of like oh no. We knew that France and Finland were probably going to try and use this composition against us, but we weren't super afraid about it because we thought we could kind of force them off of it and onto Goats, and then we could outplay them with, our Sombra Doom when they get back onto Goats or whatnot. But this is a little bit scary, seeing China pull out a composition that we kind of hadn't scouted, hadn't expected, and to see that they're playing it better than we are. Seeing this map now, it's really kind of disappointing in the fact that third map on Oasis, we played McCree and Brigida way worse than I think I've ever seen Canada play it. So stuns and flashes not connecting, Crimzo and Surefour not being on the same targets, XQC's isolations not being followed up on. There's a lot of like really simple core principles here in the composition that simply weren't being executed, and I don't know. I, of course, wasn't listening to the comms, so I don't know why they weren't being executed. But this map, Canada definitely could have won. Really poor showing on City Center. We got lucky, but lucky is good. It was only like one area where we got lucky, and that kind of, that win in the luck department snowballed into a win on the map overall. And then the first map we lost Gardens because of indecision on swapping off of Widowmaker and Pharah and onto Goats. We lost the one fight on Goats because of a boop and a primal, and where if we had like a second or a third attempt on that composition, we would have either gotten ultimates or had a better engagement, and we would have won in a one fight situation. But China kind of reversed us. When we were at 99, they went all the way to 100 and won. So other than this third map, this definitely could have gone Canada's way. Okay. Questions about that first map? Who would be 6 players in your dream Overwatch World Cup team? I think I answered this when I answered this in like China when they asked me what my MVP team for like the World Cup would be. You could have somebody like Custa, Unco, Gouchue, Leave, Surefour, and Who am I missing? Fury? Yeah, I think I was missing the off tank. So those they're all good players. There's so many. Okay. There's a lot of really good players in World Cup. I really like Custa's style. Custa's like a really, really strong shot caller. You know, he speaks in a way that you listen. His comms are really good. Kind of keeps the team together. And especially with having worked with Banny, I really value that in a shot caller. Having like a glue that can keep the team together. So Banny would be good at it. Custa would be good at it. I don't know the rest of the main support shot calling or whatnot. But especially after the World Cup, I put a lot of emphasis on the value of a main support who can be an in-game leader, not just in terms of like shot calling, but also kind of like emotionally keep a team together. So I think Custa is probably one of the best in terms of being like not only an in-game leader, but an actual leader as an individual, which I think gives him a lot of it's the intangibles, right? It's the intangibles. So I think it'd be fun to work with Custa. Okay, map 2, Blizzard World. Oof, this one. This was not a fun one for us. Why Gushui instead of Fate? Because I just want to see more of him. I know how Fate plays. I want to see Gushui in more situations. Okay, so China's attack here. How do they roll this out?
Ready for battle. Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Leave was pretty crazy on this map, yeah.
Five, four, three, two, one. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Now, I'm going to be honest here. I don't remember the discussion, because I went on stage afterwards, but I don't remember the discussion about what we were trying to counterpick with Brigitte Widowmaker. What were we trying to do here? Oh, right. We're trying to counter Brigitte McCree. What am I thinking? So the kind of like the whole Brigitte McCree thing, it was being really well played by China. And I think it was one of the things that kind of caught us off guard was how well China was playing it. So the main composition that this is going to counter from Canada, when you have a Zenyatta and an Ana, you're not wanting to reposition. And if you were expecting to kind of save yourself against dive, maybe you would want Ana and Brigitte, although that's being played a lot less. And then if you were expecting, so Ana and Zenyatta is better for two reasons. First of all, it's better if you're not expecting to be dove and you're kind of like being attacked by a composition that's going to be like a slow pace. You know, if you're not being disturbed at all, then Zenyatta and Ana is better. If you want to kind of, peel or be like protected against a hard dive, you can do Ana and Brigitte, but we have both here. And then Ana, if you kind of like are worried about diving but not want to play triple support, you can go the Ana and the Lucio. So the Lucio keeps the Ana alive, but you still have the higher heals as well as the anti-nade if they play something like Goats here. So this composition, we're going to stay on the high ground because if they do go Brigitte and McCree, our supports can just constantly get value unless they're kind of like pressured out by really accurate McCree shots. That's really the only thing that can pressure them out here, whereas Surefour has the advantage against both the Brigitte and the McCree. So that was the initial plan here. What does China roll out on? Trying to scout. Late Young going back, getting onto Diva. That was just a scout. So if we look at Late Young's play here, just boosts up to try and see what they've got, and immediately swaps to Diva. So that's all he's doing there. He's just scouting. So they're going to stay on this Genji and the Doomfist. So the Genji Doomfist is just a version of Dive that is less reliant on ultimates. It still has a win condition with the Nanoblade, but it's got more unblockable damage. So Surefour is just on the side here. And then we've retreated into the background. I would have kind of preferred that we stayed on the high ground there and tried to tank the dive a little bit more. So especially if we had realized that they had a Doomfist. Like if you have a Sombra and a Genji, it's debatable whether you want to stay on the high ground or move to the arches there. But if you're playing against a Doomfist, if you stay on high grounds, it requires the Doomfist to at least use one cooldown in order to get to you. So Leave is playing right here. He can still kind of get to them, but it doesn't require him to use the uppercut in order to do so. He could like punch in, for example. So if you require the Doomfist to use an uppercut in order to execute the dive, he doesn't have the uppercut to actually kill whatever he dove upon. So it makes him a little bit less valuable. So I would have liked to see us kind of stay on the high ground here. Let's see how this plays out. Okay, so there's Leave using that uppercut, right? That's what we want. And then he's going to be going in onto Surefour with the Seismic. Surefour should be immediately getting Harmony and Repair Pack. I'm going to sneeze. So there's the Slam. Does his... Where's the Repair Pack? There's the Repair Pack. And he's got Harmony. Does his grapple not go off? Does grapple get canceled or something? Anyway, so he's getting out there fine. XQC and Note both counter dove, which is fine. Note's going to be able to back off into the healing arms there. Agility's punches forward just to kind of get more pressure and take this space back from that dive. The anti-nade from Sky doesn't find anything. Leave in the background. Not going to find Crimzo because Crimzo lands that really great sleep and Banny's going to finish him off. This fight goes in our favor.
Excuse me for dropping in.
We decide to use Primal here. Are you going to find anything extra with it? You get Sky? Nice. Okay. First fight down. China? Good call, China. Good call. Just go goats, lol. So, goats, it doesn't... It's probably equal counters. So, Widowmaker can definitely set up the crossfire easier against a goats composition, but the stun and whatnot from McCree is the trade-off. So you're either worried about like a different sight line and Surefour kind of like staying here. So if you're China and you try and like push in from the left side and get to the point or whatnot, Surefour is going to be free to find whatever angles he wants on the supports. And you know, Surefour having an angle on your supports is not something that you ever really want to have happen. So they could like try and flush Surefour out, but that's not going to be super beneficial because you can just grapple back up there as soon as you drop. So it's probably just Late Young will maybe force Surefour out of that position because he's unsupported. He's not playing with a Zenyatta or anything like that. So it's more likely that China will just try and go to the point and force Surefour out of there using the Diva. Yeah, other than that, here what we're trying to do is get a lot of cleave. So XQC and Note want to try and slow down the pace of play as much as possible. Crimzo is going to want to find an anti-nade, and then if the anti-nade is found, that's going to more than likely trigger a hard engage from our tanks. Agilities can't do a lot here, so that's the unfortunate part. Really, the only thing that Agilities can help do is try and peel and provide health packs in order to the tanks that are actually trying to contest that front line and slow things down here. But Goats is the right call here, absolutely. So Surefour's already backing off, doesn't want to fuck around with Late Young. Coming around the far side here. XQC's going for this cleave. He gets Nano. Okay, what's going on here? So Crimzo again with a huge play. Crimzo's had two huge plays this map so far. He slept the Doomfist that was going to kill him, and then he also slept Late Young and got the Nano and the healing nade onto XQC, which also antied Crystal. Now Gushui has been nanoed here, but I don't think that's going to be enough damage to kill him because China doesn't have a Discord Orb. So he jumps out. Jumps back in. Still not going to find everything because everybody gets healed up. Oh, he gets taken out. He gets antied and then can't get out. Didn't he have jump there? XQC had jump. Why didn't he jump out? He jumped. What? Did he not get the reset?
Get in there.
Or no, I'm so dumb, chat. I'm so dumb. For some reason, I thought he was Primal, but it was the Nano that was ending, not the Primal. I'm so dumb. Oh my god. Just undo. Forget the last 30 seconds. Holy shit. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I thought the only reason it makes sense to jump back in there is if he was primaling and got a reset. But if he's jumping back in and his nano wears off, then he's just free. Wow, that was such a... Oh man, yeah. So I just assumed that this was the end of his primal. My brain shut off. So yeah, going back in there while Nano is ending, everyone gets kind of heal buffed and he gets antied. So that's an unlucky jump from XQC. Yeah, that's probably the worst mistake I've made after like 4 days of reviewing. So you fuck up sometimes. You fuck up sometimes.
Pass into the iris.
Boosters engaged. Time to raise my APM.
We're gonna back out.
Shoot this. I'm
Agilities is antied.
nerf this.
Really, without XQC here, it's gonna be pretty rough. Crimzo gets taken out. Yeah, this is not gonna go well.
Shoot you down. No.
XQC's back, but Crimzo's not. Not yet, right? Yeah, Crimzo's still respawning. So pretty much as soon as XQC went down there, that was pretty much the end of this fight. XQC gets another primal, but the Graviton's going to take out both our tanks. So pretty much anything that happened after XQC's death was inevitable. So we don't have as much ability to slow things down. What was Let's look at Surefour, what he was trying to do during this fight. That should be interesting. Because Surefour's main job here. So this is right before XQC dies. What is Surefour doing? So Surefour's here. Let's just watch him during this fight. Oh, that's the wrong button. He's got these nice crossfires. Late Young's defense matrixing. Grapple's pretty aggressive today. There's the beat there from Veltal. Still looking for targets. Still looking for targets. Grapple's up. Wants to try and find Crystal there. Ooh. Did that hit the shield? How did that not kill?
I'm back in the fight. Nerf this. I'm under attack.
Oh no! Oh, it hit Gushwei's shield. And he gets pushed up by Late Young. Yeah, so it's really hard to get value on Widowmaker here. Like, you need those different angles, but especially when you're playing unsupported and Late Young can force you out. Like, Late Young did a really good job here. He could have been... He went in with his bomb, which is the only reason he really left Surefour for as long as he did. And in that, like, brief window that Surefour had to find targets, he got unlucky with Gushwei's shield just barely blocking the shot onto D.Va, and then the shot onto Crystal wasn't charged enough to kill. So Surefour did fine there. It would have been a tall order for him to pop off. Agility's just fucking up random flying robots. Nice. Okay. Now, what is China going on the attack here? Now, China's going the same composition we were going, so we're going to just the Sombra and the Doomfist. We still have the Zenyatta and the Ana. The Zenyatta and the Ana is really kind of good on this map because we can store them on these high grounds. Like, we can keep Zenyatta, Ana on these high grounds, and it's kind of hard if the opponent's playing, like, Goats, definitely. If the opponent tries to take this second point with Goats, it's usually pretty easy to hold. Where is our Zenyatta? Our Zenyatta is... Oh. Hi, Banny. I didn't see you. Okay. So, yeah, we're just wanting to get this high ground, be able to get the sight lines for our supports, and then dive in to shut down Leave sight lines, as well as Crystal's inability to get to high ground, whatnot. Okay. How you doing, bud? I've fucked up real bad. Nano gives a jump reset, didn't you know? So a little bit of a poor time. I would have liked better timing. So this is one of the kind of things that if this happened in like a scrim and I had footage, you'd want to point this out as kind of an example where you would want better timing on an engage. So Agilities is going to go in first, like this, but Node is coming in. XQC is a little bit late to the party. So the uppercut allows Agilities to dodge. And this is also a little bit early, and it's going to be forcing Crimzo and Banny to come off of the high ground so they can actually get their sight lines. With this engagement kind of being as scuffed as it is, pretty much Canada has to get out. Veltal is going to be using his barrier, and then Banny's going to, in response, trance so that we can stay in the fight. Looks like Leave is just coming down on this angle, which is a really nice one. And where is Surefour? So Surefour wasn't even... Oh, he was going back to swap to Widowmaker. I thought he was going to stay on Sombra. But no, we're going Widowmaker Doomfist for some reason. So Surefour is looking for that duel against Leave. Peeks out, misses. Leave trying to just a crouch dodge is going to back out. So Agilities and Bandy both get punished. So really sloppy engage from Canada for multiple reasons. The first reason being that we're going in not together. Agilities is going to go in first. Note is going to, like, Note's timing is better, but XQC's timing is late. Crimzo and Banny, 3 reasons, I guess. Agilities is early, XQC is late. Crimzo and Banny, because of the location that we engaged on, can't get a sightline and they have to drop. And then Surefour is not even at the party. So really super early engaged. So things are starting to, like, the Canada that I'm used to kind of like seeing in scrims is not showing up right now, which is unfortunate. But so 3 different reasons why this engagement is pretty poor for Canada. And we're going to lose it.
Pass into the iris.
Julius gets taken out. He was there. We didn't punish. Banny gets taken out, and we'll just get cleaned up here. Now we have Bomb, we have Meteor Strike, we have Nano. But, so they're staying on this composition. And are we going to stay on it? We're staying on the Widowmaker. Like, so one of the things is that if we wanted to do a Widowmaker contest, like, we had plans for it. Oh, okay, so Agilities is off Doomfist. Okay. That's fine. Mirroring this is fine. And even better than this is, I was just about, we're getting Reinhardt as well. Okay, we're pretty far off script. But, so one of the things that we really found was going to, or like our plan going into the tournament in terms of contesting a Widowmaker was that we didn't want to have Surefour kind of being the one responsible for winning the Widowmaker duel. And then we found that, especially in areas where we were playing Mercy, that it didn't really matter how good Surefour was, because our tanks were being able to get outvalued, outpoked, or whatnot, and the Mercy just wasn't like the Resurrect, especially if, if Surefour is winning all the duels, like, what the hell do we have Mercy for if we don't need to res him, right? So in this situation, if we were kind of trying to, like, shut down, leave, and focus our tactics on the Widowmaker battle, it would have been much better to go towards a Winston and a Diva, but then get an Ana in here, which is exactly what we have. Because then if they're playing like Lucio and Zenyatta, although they have a slight advantage in terms of support ultimates, our tanks have more sustain. So we can shut down the areas that Leave is in. We can do that with Crimzo supporting them from longer ranges. And if if Late Young and Gushui either try and contest the tanks that are contesting the Widowmakers or contest our Widowmaker, we still have the utility that can make tanks fuck off with sleep darts, boops, anti-nades, things like that. So not sure if I'm a huge fan of the Reinhardt swap or why this was called, but we're like, us being on Widowmaker Doomfist in the first place on the start of this second point is already us being off script. And now we're on Reinhardt, and this is not good. So Agility's a Note taking the high ground here. There's an amp from Banny. Bomb from Late Young is coming out. What's Crystal going to try and stun? Is Banny going to survive this? Agility shield up. Crystal gets the stun onto XQC and takes him out. Note bombs. Nano comes out onto Agilities. Manages to use that to win the Brigitte 1v1. That's a huge benefit, especially if Agilities can get his rally. Gushui's jump is interrupted. That's also really good. XQC is back because of reinforcements. Surefour wins the battle with Leave, so we're going to actually be able to retake this. Note gets demeched. Gushui's just jumping around like a madman. And Agilities gets the rally. So this at least we kind of get this point, in that Agilities is putting a lot of emphasis on that Brigitte 1v1. Crimzo's Nano goes on to him so that he can take out Crystal, because if you have a Brigitte when the opponent does not in a chaotic team fight, it's just an absolutely massive advantage, because you have this person who's constantly stunning, constantly shitting out AoE heals, can knock back, can just like slow things down. And in addition, this specific point of 2CP is a lot similar to like assault points, second assault points, in the fact that reinforcements get there really, really fast and can reinforce fights if it wasn't a clean victory for the attackers. So we take this, but it was more of a merit of kind of just one action happening. Agility's winning that Brigitte 1v1 with the help of Crimzo's Nano, taking out his counterpart, and then getting rallied. Like, Surefour here is doing a great job. He took out Leave, and then he also just took out Late Young there. So they're swapping onto the Hanzo here. I don't know why. Okay, goats, that's fine. So, again, right? China's playing our game, and they're constantly counterpicking at a composition level. So, this GOAT's composition is going to be pretty difficult for us to win with only a Diva Bomb. But we'll try and stall things out. We should have Crimzo on the high ground, yep, to try and land anti-nades. And then Surefour is respawning. Oop, we're going the wrong way. He didn't die, though. Is he going to swap? We're all going to swap. Nice. I didn't remember doing this. So, China counterpicks, then we counterpick. Nice. Watch the counterpicks. So they're heading back. We're heading back. Gushue onto Reinhardt. How early was this noticed? 4, 5, 6. 6 seconds. It took us 6 seconds to recognize and decide to counterpick. Sights. This is good. I like this. Back on script, boys. Back on script. Notes in mech. Okay. Can we get agilities to the high ground early enough? You know, this is like a really great setup. This is a really good setup. Finally, something kind of good to watch here. But Surefour's on the high ground. He can start trying to GMB, getting a lot of hacks. The only person that can contest them is Late Young, but Late Young is going to have to contest like Note, Surefour, and most importantly, Crimzo, because Crimzo is going to be able to land just a fantastic anti-nade here. And then Agilities is going to get on the high ground in time to kind of try and take them out here. So let's take a look at this. So Rally comes out from Crystal. That complicates things. Not going to lie about that. Late Young is looking at Crimzo. Surefour's looking for a hack onto Late Young so that we can land the anti. Huge. Where's the anti coming from? We punched Skye into a wall. Crimzo should be going for an anti here. Looks like he's trying to heal up agilities, but we lose agilities. And Crystal's going to probably take out Banny here. Yeah, so Crimzo is preoccupied with trying to keep agilities and Banny alive. Lei Young's still hacked here, though.
Time to raise my APM.
Surefour's in trouble. He's going to have to translocate out. Where did he translocate to? Spawn. Unlucky. Nano onto XQC. That's good. Still no purple. Did Crimzo use his nade earlier? What was Crimzo doing here? Did he use his nade to try and keep agilities alive or something? And I missed it? Oh, he threw it before Surefour landed the hack? What? Where did this nade go? I'm so confused. Oh no, it was thrown at like a second. Like the same second that Surefour was hacking Late Young. Late Young yoinked it. Ugh. So that's why he wasn't looking for it. He went for it and he didn't land it. Ah, good job, Late Young. Not even mad. Let's see it from Crimzo's perspective again. Let's just watch this fight from Crimzo's perspective. It's too bad. A little bit of patience there would have gone a long way. Yoink! Hook. Now he doesn't have it to save agilities. Oh, agilities died without him being able to heal. Gets the shot onto Banny. He is going to get the nano onto XQC. But, okay, grenade in 1 second. Late Young is no longer hacked. Where's this nade going? Late Young's looking at him. Fucking Late Young, man. He got Crimzo twice. He boomed me. Okay, Late Young. Good job. That was really clutch from Late Young this fight. Got Crimzo both times. Well played, Lei Young. Well played.
Nerf this. Nerf this. Suiting up, back in the fight.
Pass into the
We do get two. Are we still going to be able to reinforce this? Surefour jumps out, getting healed by Banny. Agilities gets taken out. Late Young is hacked, and finally Crimzo lands as an anti on both Late Young and Crystal, but I think they're going to get out. Noke gets demeched. XQC in with the reinforce. Surefour has EMP. Should be able to use it to take out Crystal. The Crystal has Harmony on him. XQC gets taken out. Banny's beat comes in. This is what I'm talking about with like this point being such 2 CP, is just reinforcements from the defenders come in so fast. And we have no ultimates though. We're out of ultimates and they're back here is 6. Jilly's coming in with the uppercut onto leave. The grab onto the payload's going to catch Agilities. We would have had to contest anyway. It just keeps him more stationary. Bristol's going to take out Crimzo. Okay. So we could have held there, but Late Young yoinked both of Crimzo's hanties. Okay. We're staying on. It's fine. We've got Meteor Strike. We've got Nano. Sneaky. Trance really early. Did they trance that early because they knew that we had, or thought we had EMP? Because we don't have EMP. Why was that trance so early? What were you doing, Sky? Caused you to trance.
There is chaos within you.
Okay. Super early trance. We're going to get Veltal here. Are we going to get Veltal? Okay, we got Veltal. Good. XCC's back in.
Time to reach my APM.
Jody's is going to get out, thanks to Note. And we're in just kind of like this soft reset here.
Routing power forward barrier.
30 seconds remaining.
Late Young. Oh, Late Young does force XQC out. That's not good for us. Damn, Late Young. Going off this map. Agility's trades, though. Makes it 5 versus 5. Meteor Strike. Where is this going? Where is this going, Agilities? The problem with this, like, the problem with Meteor Strike is that you can't really go onto a Brigida, because not only can they block it from point-blank range, but they can actually stun you out. And Gouchwei is the same thing. He's in a great spot here in that if he sees it, he can either, like, tank the damage himself to save somebody else, or just stay alive himself from kind of, like, shield jumping away. So this is a tough decision to make, and honestly, if I was sure our Agilities, I probably would just retreat to the high ground. This is at least something we talked about, where Agilities... Yeah, great job, Agilities. He used to get killed all the time, but makes the right decision to just retreat back to the high ground with the Meteor Strike. Good choice. Good choice.
10 seconds remaining.
He's got his cooldowns back up. They're getting... There's the... Agilities goes for the Reinhardt with the Nano. There's the EMP as well. Like, things like this kind of annoy me in the fact that it's just, like, really poor timing. So one of the main benefits of having a Nano Doomfist is that you can kill supports without the need for your Knuckle Cannon. So like Late Young can't do shit about keeping a support alive against a Nano Doomfist. There's just nothing you can do about it. So what I don't like is the fact that we had EMP here, but we didn't use them together along with the Nano Doomfist. So we actually didn't get much value out of any 3 of these ultimates. So... There's the Nano onto Agilities. Surefour had to translocate out. So Agilities goes in, but he goes in with a punch onto Gouchwei. And Gouchwei, this is again one of the reasons why we were talking about floats being easier to fight than goats. And the fact that Gouchwei, God, can keep himself alive easier against a Doomfist. So Agilities uses the Nano to go onto what I would consider the wrong target, but it would have been the right target if Surefour EMP'd. Again, I didn't have access to the comms during the games, so I don't know if Surefour had originally planned to EMP and he was just forced out early. Because Surefour was here. And he gets translocated out pretty much right as Agilities gets nanoed. Right? So maybe this was planned that we'd execute kind of all 3 at the same time. And then Surefour was just forced to translocate out. Tried to salvage it by coming back and EMPing. But either way, it did not go well. So this was pretty poorly executed fight for us. The Nano, and then adding insult to injury, Sky used trance before we EMP'd, not even reactively, which is going to make all 3 of our ultimates negated by a single ultimate of China. Gushui does end up dying, but it's to Note's bomb, so we actually invested 4 ultimates into this fight. Yeah, okay. Not good. Not good. We try and match beat with beat. Late Young's got bomb though. Was he still hacked at that point in time? Hack? Oh. Not quite sure if he would have been able to bomb there or not. Okay, so this is just a really chaotic fight here, and they're on a composition that, ooh, we got a purple, though. Are we going to be able to... XQC's jumping out, so we can't follow up on that on Veltal. We don't have enough kind of, like, damage onto Gushui here. Next ultimate for us is going to be Nano.
All systems checked out.
Nano's going on XQC while we're in Meteor Strike. Banny's in trouble. He does get taken out there. Hammer comes down. I'm sorry, the Meteor Strike comes down, not Hammer. Gushui goes for the charge, and is going to land it on the Nano XQC. God, this is a chaotic fight. Holy moly. Boom, gets Crimzo. And the grab from Leave. Going to take out XQC. Agilities is here. It's not going to do much. So, Canada could have held them closer. Could have held them a lot closer if our ult combo actually worked. But for whatever reason, the timing on our ult combo there was really far off. And then China being on a Goats composition and us being on the Sombra Doomfist composition, they have more sustain, more point presence, and we weren't able to finish up the fight after that. That was super messy. That was super... Now, here is where probably the worst Canadian fight... This is 4 minutes of pain. That's what this is. 4 minutes of pain coming in right here. So, I talked about this previous. Did you even train Goats? We did, yes. That's what we did. It's what we spent the vast majority of our time on the 2 days before the 2 days before the playoffs. But our Goats was not very good. So Goats is a composition that, especially when you're playing like Zenyatta Goats, which is the composition that you would most commonly end up when you're in the mirror match, Canada is not really a very proactive and aggressive team. We like to kind of take map control. We like to, XQC will kind of isolate or split people. We like to have agilities and Surefour end up in 1v1 situations or where they can kind of carry. But trying to execute like a really coordinated dive onto singular targets was not really our play style. And then on Zenyatta Goats especially, it requires so much micromanagement and so much coordination. It really kind of conflicted Goats, just like at a principle of how you play Goats, conflicted with the Canadian players' play styles. So like Fusion's a character that when Fusion's a character, an individual that when he's playing main tank in Goats, for example, very proactive and micros basically the entire team. On Canada's comms are everyone kind of talking about what's happening, call outs about positions and what they're focusing on, or like opportunities or things like this. And it's not like all in now, 3, 2, 1, go, go, go. It's not like super screamy. Or the only time that we ever really did that was Lijiang Tower against the United Kingdom. But Goats doesn't really fit our playstyle. We didn't have as much practice on it. Like we did well in scrims against like North American teams, but North American teams on a whole are just bad at Goats compared to European teams. So going into the playoffs, we finally got our first chance to like really truly scrim European teams, and we had really poor results on Goats in scrims against European teams. So it was one of like our compositions that we would go on to if it was a hard counter against the opponent and for basically no other reason. So, isn't Goats an American strat, though? Yeah, but the people who make strategies, like innovators, the people who innovate are very rarely the same people who perfect. So, yes, Goats was an American contenders team that first showed good results with the composition in tournaments, but Europeans have since kind of adopted that composition and playstyle and have become much, much better at it than North America. Yeah, Canadians invented basketball, and they suck at it, so...
Ready for battle. Attackers incoming in 30 seconds. Five, four, three, two, one. Attackers
Okay,
incoming.
so some things to know about how bad this went for Canada. Crystal is scouting on all this, and so right here, China is playing the Ana and the Zenyatta composition, right? So one of the benefits of the Ana Zenyatta composition is it's like a glass cannon. You hold in that backline, it gives you a lot more value, but it's super weak to being dove. It's really weak to being dove. But one of the interesting things here is that Lei Young is on Zarya instead of Diva, which gave them a lot more peel in the backline with the projected bubbles, and this was not something that we were used to. So Lei Young has the ability to bubble leave when he's going in so that we can't counter hack, which is one of our main strategies. Like if somebody's playing Doomfist and we're kind of like in this mirror with it, we can hack the incoming Doomfist or we can hack their Sombra. You know, you can have your Sombra playing a lot more defensively, and it makes these engagements for the defenders a lot riskier and more dangerous. But we'd never played against a team that ran the Zarya Winston, especially on defense, coupled with like a really aggressive dive. So here we're kind of struggling between adapting to a team that's going to be playing very aggressive, but they're playing aggressive with a Zarya, and we either fail to kind of counteract their aggressive dives or get successful dives onto their backline, which has kind of, at least historically with the team, been a struggle to kind of really execute coordinated backline dives. Now, we do execute a couple good dives during this map, but you'll see about that in a bit. In terms of our composition, what we're going to do here is Banny is going to start on Lucio in order to just speed us out of the gate, but then immediately swap to Zenyatta.
Defend objective A.
Boom, right? So the thing with the Zenyatta here is that Zenyatta, just like how China is playing, is super greedy. And that if you can get away with it, it's fantastic. You can get the discords, you can get the antis, you can get the best of both worlds. But your backline really, really, really struggles to stay alive if it's attacked by an aggressive dive, which China is playing, right? They're playing Leave and Gushui, and Crystal's going to be in there as well. And it's a really aggressive dive, super hard to stay alive here. So what we needed to do here is Banny needed to swap to Lucio in order to give us more kind of movement. We can either go past kill zones, we can try and speed away from dives and then counter push, things like that. But because of reasons, which you'll find out, Banny actually stays on Zenyatta, which makes us even worse position to try and survive against China's defense here. So the combination of Lei Young playing Zarya here instead of Diva, which changes a few things that we weren't really used to playing against, and then our backline not swapping because we wanted. It was the same thing that kind of got us in the Oasis map, where we stayed on the Widowmaker and the Pharah because we wanted to get use of Valkyrie and Primal, where it would have been able to just like swap regardless of the ultimate and then play at a composition where at the neutral level you're still in a better matchup. So that's like the precursor to this clusterfuck of an attack. So let's see how it goes. So first fight, remember when we're playing the Ana, the Sombra, and the Genji, what we want to do is we want to build EMP Nanoblade prior to 2 minutes so that if we fuck up using our ult combos to take the first point, we have the ability to do it again. So Canada's goal going into this is going to be, win if we can, but don't really be bothered about it. Build ultimates, stay alive, look for opportunities to just farm ultimate charge as fast as possible, and then win with ultimates, because EMP Nanoblade is a crazy good combo. So let's see how this goes. Gushui jumps back. Lei Young's just kind of like poking here. Sure 4 agility is kind of splitting off. XQC immediately trying to get some cleave here. And let's see how this first engagement goes. Poking around, looking for information, looking for targets. XQC gets hit by a right click. China's also looking for an opportunity to engage. Boom, here it comes. Gushui comes in first, and he comes in with the bubble. So, and Leave should be charging up his punch. Yep, Leave is charging up his punch. So he'll be here in just a moment. Boop. So he punches to find a new angle, and then he's coming in with the Seismic Slam. Gushui lands behind in order to body block. He gets his damage, his knockback, his cleave, and then leave should land just a moment later. On to Crimzo. He uppercuts him. Boop. Takes him out. And then he's going to be able to retreat. So Guishui trades for it. And Agilities gets the Translocator out, but Note also loses his mech. So just like a little two-man dive there from China allowed them, like, we can't really go in without Crimzo here. So Crimzo is the target. Banny survives that. Crimzo destroys, but we lose. We trade and then lose mech as well. So the two mistakes that happened in this fight here is that Note is still mini. And Banny is still on Zenyatta. So normally it's the Zenyatta that is targeted first. So if Banny had died here on Zenyatta, he would have come back as Lucio. But in this situation, we're kind of conflicted in that we want to switch onto Lucio on us so that we can be much more survivable against what China is doing to us. But we also want to build ult charge here. So note, we stay in kind of like this soft reset here, where Note is going to try and get his mech back. Banny is going to continue to try and farm his ultimate because, you know, like 40 seconds into this, he's at like 50% to his Transcendence. Crimzo is going to come back or whatnot. So, whatnot. We could have sent Banny and Note back to spawn here right away. That would have been a pretty ballsy call to make it right off the bat. It just from experience, because this happened to us in King's Row as well, where we got full held against this same sort of defense by USA. I would have liked to be a lot more proactive about this swap onto Lucio, regardless of the state of the ultimate charge, especially since the Zenyatta's ultimate is not part of the main win condition. The main win condition is EMP Nanoblade. We don't need Transcendence in order to win that. So, Note staying here, us soft resetting instead of hard resetting allows us to be punished. XQC is trying to force Crystal out of his location. Surefour is back. Crimzo is not. XQC is just kind of like trying to remove this area so that China can't stage another dive onto us. Note's at half health. Just trying to get mech back here. XQC removing very methodically more space from China. But at the same time, that soft reset, right as Crimzo returns, they trigger another two-man dive and delete Note. And then Banny. So here is why it was so unlucky. Here's why it was so unlucky. If China had gone with their two-man dive and taken out Banny instead of Crimzo, Banny would have come back on Lucio. The little kind of thing about Note being out of mech, that's a call in the middle of the fight that you can't really, I don't know what exactly the call was, why Note kind of stayed there and poked. It could have been 1,000 different reasons, and they could have been very legitimate reasons here. But now, when Banny does die, he's now at 84% to his Transcendence, so he wants to stay on it. And so Banny is going to stay for Transcendence. So we lost the first one. We lost the second one because we soft reset instead of hard reset. And then you'll see this just kind of go from bad to worse. How you doing, Elk? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that we needed to be on Lucio, like, forever ago. Regardless of the status of trance. Okay, so this time we're coming back in. We've still got Zenyatta, so we still don't have, like, much protection for Crimzo. Crimzo, like, and the other thing is that we're coming up on this 2-minute mark, right? So our objective is to get these 3 ultimates online prior to 2 minutes. But we've got about 20 seconds left. Crimson's at 63%, Surefour's at 80%. Oh, I am, so this is now fight 3. This is now fight 3, and this is where things kind of, you can tell that Canada's getting a little bit panicky, a little bit shaken, and we're not playing very smart anyway. We're not really playing our game. So our game is, of course, to kind of build ultimates and try and win off of those. But here, Surefour sets up a dive. So he sets up a dive by being invisible, going up behind, probably because we recognized that they're being really greedy here. They're trying to play the Zenyatta and the Ana on the defense, and we're playing Sombra Doom. That's something that really, really counters the Zenyatta and the Ana kind of support combo here. So Surefour's going to set up for a pretty aggressive dive. And this dive wasn't the worst executed dive in the world. You can see Surefour has scattered it out. XQC and Agilities are getting into position here. He's just going to call that, hey, let's dive the supports, up back. It's just, no Brig, just Zen Ana. Let's get them. And Canada's like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's do it. We can get them. We can kill them. This is great. We won't even have to use ultimates to kill them. And then we'll be able to snowball into second point. Okay, you guys ready? Yeah, totally ready. Okay, let's dive in 3, 2, 1. Now, let's go in. Woo! Okay, so here it is. Sureforce decloaking, Agilities has dashed in, XQC has jumped in, and Note is boosting up himself. So we're going all in on these two poor supports. Gushui, is going to probably jump back up, but they're playing Zarya instead of Diva, so he can't kind of jump back up. He can't even defense matrix. They don't even have a defense matrix here. But, so they fall off, and Sky's like, Veltal, no, my friend, I will save you. And he nanos him. Right there. So this does a lot of, like, shit things for us. First of all, I doubt, there's, like, there's the chance of this being planned was so minuscule. I think this was just luck for China. But the way that they fell off the high ground put Sky in line of sight of Late Young, who bubbled him so that Sky survived, and then Veltal survived because he got nano from Sky. And nanoing your Zenyatta does a lot of good things. It keeps him alive, but more importantly, it keeps Discord up, and then his damage just goes through the roof. And then he is going to be able to stay alive, and just from this, they're going to be able to kind of push against us. Gushui lands, kills XQC. Agilities is like, fuck, we fucked up. I choose death. Fuck you nerds, I'm out. Peace. Fuck this bitch. I'm going swimming. And then Note dies as well. So, what's the worst part about this dive? What's the worst part about this dive? Does anybody see what really goes bad about this dive? If you watched kind of the first stream there, the worst part about this dive is this. So, this is not really Crimso's fault. It's not really Crimso's fault here. It's the fact that we tried to change up our plan. We went for a backline dive. We kind of rushed things, like we saw the opportunity or whatnot. Rushed things. Crimso's not in a position to assist in this fight. And so we kind of go early when we're not completely set up. And we're fighting this. Whereas, like, Banny is here, right? Let's look at it from Banny's perspective, even. So both our supports are still rotating. And we execute a dive. So this is amateur hour, honestly. This is pretty amateur hour. And it's not like any individual... Yeah, we're just going to put those Harmony Orbs right up the Griffin's butt. No, it's not like this is any individual error. This is kind of like high pressure, Canada getting a little bit panicky, changing up the game plan, and not communicating. So very simply, Surefor could be kind of like, is everybody ready to dive or something like that? And Crimso could be like, wait just a couple seconds. I'm still coming up or whatnot. Yeah, so this dive wasn't the worst thing in the world to execute like this. They stay alive because of the bubble from Late Young and the nano onto Veltal. But regardless, the kind of change in plan and the rush to execute that plan causes this dive, which it's good that we were able to execute an aggressive dive and recognize that Zenyatta Ana is a weakness, but how the timing of it and how we executed it with the position of our backline is not good. Now, here we're at 2 minutes, and Crimso's at 80% to his nano. So our main win condition has now failed. We want to be able to execute with our ultimates prior to 2 minutes. We're past 2 minutes now, and we still don't have nano. So what we're probably going to do here is just poke a little bit, take a little bit of poke damage so that Crimso can get his nano boost, and then we want to go with all 3 of our ultimates in order to take it. So Crystal goes for his EMP. They engage on us. EMP lands. Banny uses his Transcendence, but it's too late to save Agilities, and that's going to be another reset.
To raise my APM.
How did Note get burned there?
Into the iris.
Is that not in LOS? Oh no! They're playing Ring Around Rosie with the bubble. Gushui just... Oh my god, that's so unlucky. They're shield dancing each other. Oh no.
Into the iris.
They're shield dancing each other. Unfortunate. Banny's in the trance. Note's outside of the trance. Banny's out of the trance. Note's in the trance. Note's out of the trance. Banny's in the trance. God damn it. And Note loses mech because of that. Oh. Oh, no.
Into the iris.
Painful. Okay, let's try it again. We've still got our ultimates. We still don't have Nano. Not Crimso's fault, but we still don't have Nano. Banny's on Lucio. Yes. Okay, that's good. Okay. 70 seconds remaining. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da. Coming in. Crystal's still scouting things out. Now, where is Surefour? Yep. Figured as much. Surefour's going to be back here. He wants to hit it. Veltal doesn't have trance anymore, so he doesn't have to worry about hitting supports nearly as much. He can hit tanks as well. So agility's already coming out with the blade. Surefour's ready with that EMP. Now, Surefour's EMP hits what? Did it hit Veltal?
Fire at will.
Flows through me.
60 seconds.
Bedtime. Barriers on you. Go.
Incoming. I require.
Fire at will.
60 seconds remaining.
I've seen. You're going to live.
There's our win condition. We put it in the toilet and we flushed it. So that sucks. Veltal throwing the trance the fight before actually big brained us. So Veltal has really no need to trance this.
Pass into the iris.
Absolutely no need to trance that.
You to fight like that.
But Veltal's trance in that location tells Surefour that he doesn't need to hit the Zenyatta, and that he can hit tanks as well, and he really wants to hit the Zarya. The reason why Surefour wants to hit the Zarya as well is that if Late Young can't bubble the supports, there's a better chance of Agility's being able to hit them. Like, ideally, you hit supports and tanks, but Surefour kind of outsmarted himself and isn't able to hit supports or tanks, and this causes the Nanoblade to fail.
Огонь по готовности.
Seconds.
Meteor strike.
And then Veltal's like, "You're dead." Unfortunate. Unfortunate.
Defense matrix activated. Ah, 돌봤네.
وريهم قوتك.
He gets Nano, just deletes Banny. Nothing Note can do about that.
Nerf this.
We died.
Seconds remaining.
Pass into the iris.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the unluckiest 4 minutes of Overwatch in existence. Oh.
Victory.
Oh, man. GG, go next. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. We could have won Oasis. Blizzard World did not go well. Ooh. That's a tilter. That's a tilter. That's a tilter right there. Okay. Okay. So, going into Temple of Anubis. How you doing, Unco? Good to see you. Going into Temple of Anubis here. One of the things, we saw this, if you watched the France analysis, the France vs. Canada game, you know Canada's strategy. I forgot to thank subscribers. My apologies, friends. Okay. So, Canada's going to attack first here. Oh, words are hard. Words are hard. Panics get attack first, and just like we were on Hybrid, on Assault, you're going to do the exact same thing. So we want to build up towards the EMP Nanoblade. We want to preferably win without it, kind of by spreading ourselves out around the map, finding different angles, farming ult charge as fast as possible. And when you do have this larger map control, you can more easily find opportunities or see if somebody is out of position or unprotected. So not really that crazy of a strategy you're going to see from Canada's attack here. China, we'll have to see what they do.
Ready for battle.
Do. What you got for me?
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
So China was like, hey, fuck, that worked out pretty well. Let's do it again. And they're going to play the exact same composition that they just used to dumpster us on Blizzard World. Not like the worst decision in the world, but China's composition worked as well as it did because Canada just decided to shit the bed. So
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
we're going to roll out here. You're going to see us try and take positions. You're probably going to see the majority of the team go left, and if Surefour can, he's going to go right. So we're just looking around. Surefour is going to join the team. Okay, so here, let's look at how this is going. Both teams are just posturing right now, right? Both teams are just posturing. How is their position? Sky and Veltal. This is a really good position for Sky and Veltal because they can do a lot. They're protected. And one of the real good, like one of the best places that you want to be when you're on Ana against a Doomfist, which we don't have, but just in general, is if you want to protect yourself against like a Doomfist, you want to be indoors because it fucks up uppercuts real badly. The other thing is if you're going against like a Goat's defense, you want to be able to anti them as they go underneath this bridge. As well, you have the ability to kind of rotate back up to this high ground where the Mega is, and you can be up on this platform if the fighting happens on the point. So this point, like, it doesn't have a health pack that you can retreat to, but Late Young is here kind of as a bodyguard, and it's got like 3 different ways that you can defend or rotate depending on what the opponents are playing. So Ana and Zenyatta normally hold around here, and then if you're playing Mercy Zenyatta, Mercy will be here, and then Zenyatta will either be kind of in this area on that piece of high ground or on that piece of high ground for the Mercy to have an escape. But on a Zenyatta, this is such a great area to be in. But yeah, both teams are just kind of posturing around. Leaves on the high ground. XQC removes this. So again, we're just trying to take some map control, trying to force a response from China. So XQC takes the high ground. Surefour takes the point, trying to force something because we don't want China to be able to stage a dive on us. Like, if we had gone for something like ground-based or whatnot, China could have... Whatnot? I've got to stop saying that. Right at this choke, they're set up for there, but what they're not set up for is to fight something on point. So we want to kind of take the fight where China can't immediately attack us. So instead, Leave and Gushui are both going to go for the 2-man dive onto our backline with the assistance of Late Young's bubble. Crimzo misses the door. That sucks. Gushui's going to back off here, which is good for us. So Late Young is using his personal, trying to force Surefour off, whereas XQC does just a great job of removing Sky and Veltal from the fight. Is he also going to get Veltal? Nice. So Late Young actually left his backline to try and get Surefour off the point. And that's going to cause the backline, not to die because XQC gets slept. Agility is going to be able to get out of here. That health pack is hacked, so he can't get it. Still running away from Gushui. Sky does die because Note arrives at the rescue. So Late Young not sticking with the backline, and then the Doomfist and the Winston kind of like 2-man dive onto our backline didn't work because we had Lucio. And we were actually able to survive dives if you have Lucio, not Zenyatta. So that went a lot better for us. Took it slow, found an opportunity, XQC isolated, Surefour forced a mistake, and we took the point without having to use our ultimates. So first fight victory, hooray! Canada's not complete dog shit. Okay. Second fight, I don't think we'll swap because we're going to be in advantage on ultimates. Surefour's already on the flank. Veltal's already gotten off of Zenyatta here. And he's gone over towards the Lucio in order to try and keep Sky alive a little bit better. Leave backed off towards the point because Surefour decloaked. Or did he? I think he's decloaked here. No, he hadn't. Why did Leave go over here? Leave, what are you doing? Leaves over here on the high ground. Did Agilities force him out of high ground?
New defense point. Objective.
I guess he just didn't want to fight and he backed off all the way over here. What are you doing, Leaf? Is he going to go for the long flank? The only thing that I can really think of Leave wanting to do is like take the long flank wave over to this area. Oh god, let's not skip that fight. So I don't really know what Leave's actions there implied, but yeah. So we're coming up on Nanoblade, and this is another super unluckers. So one of the best things that you can have happen here. One of the best things that you can have happen here is if you take the first point on this kind of like combo composition, in the fact that this composition is meant for a first point take from Canada, and that you want to be able to have the insurance that if you kind of get stalled out on your take, you're going to be able to take the first point with your combo. But here we had like the perfect storm in the fact that we got a lot of ultimate charge from taking first, but we didn't have to use our ultimates. So we've got Crimzo with Nano already and Agilities with Blade already. So we can close this out like right here, right now. China just swapped their flex support from Lucio, from Zenyatta to Lucio. So they're nowhere close to a barrier. And there's really only one thing in this entire game that can stop Agilities from murdering all of China. There's only really one thing that can happen, right? So, here we go. Should be a dash from Agilities. Boop. Now, note at the same time here was forcing Gushui out of position at the time that we went in. And he does come back here. Oh, no, this isn't the fight where he gets slept. It's a different one. This is I'm thinking of a different one. This is not the one where he gets slept. It happens later. How do we lose this one? So Agilities takes out both supports right off the bat. Gushui's right there as well. Doesn't have Primal. He's coming close. There's another fight on this one where Note just barely misses catching the sleep with Defense Matrix after forcing... It was against France? Oh! We had it happen against both? Damn, it was the exact same situation. You'd know, Unko? Yeah, Unko was the one who hit the sleep, right? So how did we lose this? Leave kills XQC. How does this happen? I must be tired. I'm making mistakes today. He's hacked. Are you kidding me?
Defense matrix activated. Time to raise my AP.
That is so unfortunate. So the cleanest of fights here. They get Nano onto late young, and we don't have XQC to remove... Like, if we had XQC here, you could put him pretty much right at this choke and remove Sky from the fight. They're sending out Crystal to the other side, but oh, losing XQC there is such a massive just slap in the dick. We EMP. Who's EMP triggered? Our EMP triggered and canceled their EMP. That's very good for us. Like, look at this. So Surefour and Crystal are going to EMP at the exact same time. Like, milliseconds apart from each other. So Crystal and Surefour both decloak, but Crystal's gets hacked. So, we got unlucky, but we got lucky. Bomb gets Gushui and late young. Leave. Oh my god. XQC, no. God, that's... Oh. XQC gets punched into a wall, and then Leave is going to uppercut him right out of his bubble, and Note's not there. Or does Note get the defense matrix on him? Nope. XQC gets taken out again by Leave. Ugh. So Leave has just killed 2 people, and we can't finish this.
It's quiet time.
Okay, let's keep going. We get barrier. Veltal's just stalling things out. Surefour takes him out. Meteor Strike's coming out. Kills Banny. Leaf kills 3.
You better get out of the way.
Gushui gets Crimzo. Oh, man.
Time to raise my Nerf this. Suiting up.
Yeah, Doomfist is really good on this map. Oh, man. They got so lucky there to hold on to it. Oh, man. Leave punched into XQC, who had managed to escape and was just looking to be healed up. And then the second death was just Leave playing well. And then the third death, Banny eats a meteor strike. But, oh, we could have taken that. So, a lot of time off the clock. China is swapping onto a flying goats defense. Right? We're got to fight for this territory. So, one of the things that you do... And we are swapping onto the Hanzo here. So this is one of the things that Surefour just goes Hanzo when he wants to go Hanzo. It's kind of a good replacement to the Brigitte and the McCree when there's high grounds and you still want like really high damage, or if the opponent is playing something like quad tank. But Surefour playing Hanzo is never in the script. And by in the script, I mean something that we plan on a team level to swap to at any point in time. So if Surefour feels like Hanzo's the right pick, Surefour's going to play Hanzo. So here we're on to the Brigitte and the Hanzo, which one of the things on Anubis that Hanzo can be really good at is that you can force people out of this crow's nest here. And after that, like when you're on attack here on Anubis, if you try and force the point too early, the opponents can use all of these different perch spots to like fuck up you and your backline. So it's important when you're attacking the second point of Anubis for you to force them out of these kind of perch spots methodically before going in right away. XQC jumping in this deep means he has Primal, which he does. Gushui, at the same time XQC jumps in, is trying to jump back out in order to isolate the backline so that the tanks can't get any help. He's going to succeed in this. Doesn't need to go in, just needs that bubble there. Agility stuns him. Fanny's going in. But with XQC's Primal, they're not really going to get any value out of that isolation because XQC doesn't need the help for a couple seconds. Stunned. Primal's out. They take out Crystal. Veltal's barrier doesn't save Crystal here. So Canada's in pretty good control here. Surefour's in trouble. He gets taken out. No stun, no roll. Like, he's got lunge there. But Surefour, what's going on here? Where's Surefour? It's right here. Where's Banny? So Banny's right there. Does Banny have a boop he can use on Gushui?
Mecha activated. Nerf this.
وريهم قوتك. I am strong.
What are you doing, Banny? He's still got his boop. When does he use it? There's speed amp. So he used it on Leave.
وريهم قوتك.
Got it back up though. Probably could have saved Surefour there.
Game on. All systems checked out. I'm gonna have to shoot you down.
Why is Surefour on Hanzo here? Because Surefour thinks that Hanzo's the best pick. That's why Surefour's on Hanzo. And off that, we lose the vast majority of our damage without Zenyatta and without our main damage dealer. That's they're just gonna push us way back. So if you don't have a Zenyatta, you need one other DPS on your team to do a lot of damage, or else they're just gonna have so much health pool to get through that they're gonna be able to stall very, very effectively. But so with Hanzo going down, with Hanzo going down there, even if we didn't kind of have lost other people as well, then we needed to swap things up, or reset rather. So you should see the fight going to kind of force them out of Crow's Nest. Gushui leaves right as Late Young takes it back. So Gushui's here.
Time to raise my APM.
There's Surefour forcing Crow's Nest. And right as Gushui is forced out, Late Young takes that position right back, but then immediately retreats. And Surefour's dropping Dragon. I think Late Young ate that? Nope, it didn't. Just randomly appears. Good to know. So Banny's going to use Berry to keep us alive through the grab, and we get heal buff, and we use Nano. That's good. So XQC's got Nano, and he's going to immediately chase the backline. Veltal gets bounced away, so he's going to immediately turn on Crystal, probably. And Gushui, at this point in time, should, yes, be going for a backline isolation. This time we actually have everybody together.
Suiting up.
Okay, so we can push back in. Gushui's not going to be able to get anything done there. How's XQC doing? He had to use Primal.
Time to raise my APM.
Everybody is heal buffed. Nice little whip shot from Agility is going to knock Gushui away, and Surefour is going to push, which is going to force Gushui to Primal here. Gushui just living in the back line 1v4. So when we're talking about attention, this is something that, think about how many people for how long we're focused on Gushui.
APM 좀 올려볼까?
Just look at this. How many people were fighting one person, unsupported? Like he gets it projected. So right now he's occupying the attention of 4 different Canadian members alone. He goes back out.
Time to raise my
He's jumping
APM.
back in.
I'll show them.
Everybody's still focused on him. Now he's got Primal. Agility's still focused on him. It's 4 Canadian players trying to deal with Gushui. So when you have 4 resources invested into one person, and you can't capitalize on that, look at what happens to the rest of your team that went in 2v4.
Nerf this.
XQC's got Primal. Note's there too.
Time to raise my APM. Now show them.
Note gets taken out.
You might want to keep your distance.
So just really, really, really good isolation from Gushui. Splits them off, demands their attention, allows the rest of their team to focus in a pretty dramatic numbers advantage on killing the tanks that went forward.
Matrix activated.
Do. Next one. Are we swapping? We're staying? Stop. Sureforce should be going Sombra here. If Agilities is going Doom, we need to be going Sombra. And XQC's on Ryan? Winston? Did we go Zenyatta? Okay. A lot of really rapid fire swaps there, but we're onto a good composition here. So Doomfist is going to be a lot better against the Gushui here. And give us more potential for closers. With just like one-shotting people who are contesting. EMP is a really good one. So let's see. How does this first fight go so badly? So they rally and rush out. Banny gets stunned immediately, and he's discorded, so he should die. And then Gushui is coming in onto Crimzo. Okay, so that's the first fight. They just sped out, amped speed, and rally. It's fine. It's one ultimate. They caught us off guard.
Routing power to forward
Sureforce
shield.
there, farming EMP. And no good stagger. Okay, so where's Sureforce going? Sureforce is trying to farm EMP. More amps. Veltal gonna try and chase him out of there. It's not Sureforce.
Here I am.
Destroyed. They got his translocator. So that call was made, and that's why they chased him so hard, is somebody called that they found and destroyed his translocator. Okay. It's fine. Next fight.
Routing power to forward barrier.
How did XQC die? How did this fight go wrong? Because this was like a series of fights. We went into this with like, what, like 6 minutes and 50 seconds or something insane like that? And didn't full cap, which is pretty horrendous. So XQC, how does this go poorly for you? XQC's forward. Yeah, just the stun. What? Wow, okay. So just the single stun and Note not getting the defense matrix on this. Where was Note? Where's Note? Note's back here. XQC's there. Oh, he moved up to contest late young, or contest the high ground. Just poor, like not poor timing, just unfortunate timing. And then he gets bursted really hard. So that must have been a lot of headshots from both Veltal Sky. And how high damage is Leave right now? Leave's at 84 as well, so that's quite a bit of damage. So just one stun from Brigitte is enough to burst down a tank, because lol. Okay. So that allows them to push that forward. We've got 2 minutes, so about 3 fights remaining. If we're lucky. Next fight. Sureforce's at 50% to EMP. We've got Nano. Crystal's third-party scouting, or third-person scouting. XQC's in.
Огонь по готовности.
And Leave with a really aggressive grab, like Leave does. Okay, so we lose this one because of grab. That's fine. Reset. 2 fights remaining. Sureforce is giving up on farming his EMP. Okay. Surefour's still not farming. Okay. So they pre-rally here? Why are they pre-rallying? Like, we don't have a... And they're not using it for an engage either. Interesting pre-rally from China. They've got a lot of guys on this crow nest that we need to try and get out here. Surefour had decloaked. Yep, tried to kill Sky. Or at least, or force the trance, one of the two. But Sky had armor. So he survived that and kept his armor through that engagement. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay. A lot of stuff going on here in different areas of the map. So they try and force Crow's Nest out. And then they go in pretty hard. Gushui goes onto the backline, onto Crimzo. Banny and Julie's both come back to try and save him. That's good so far. Crimzo lands the buff on himself and Banny.
Time to raise my APM.
Didn't get it on Agilities. And Gushui primals.
Meteor strike.
Surefour's back with the hack. Not sure if it landed. Did it land? Nope, didn't land. Crimzo sleeps him. Nice.
Nerf this.
So while this is happening, what's going on over here? Where was Agilities? Oh, Agilities is in Meteor Strike, right?
60 seconds.
And XQC died. Oh, Agilities tried to drop onto Crystal? Agilities. Comes back. He doesn't get hit by the biotics, so he has to Meteor Strike out after punching Gushui and seeing that he primaled.
Meteor strike.
He goes over here. He's trying to hit Sky or something?
Nerf this.
What does he do here? Fucking tanks it. Okay. And then after that happened, what is Surefour doing during this fight? So here's the hack onto Sky. Tries to kill him, has to translocate out. Tries to hack Gushui, it gets interrupted. Hacks late young.
60 seconds.
Goes get a mega, everybody's
Much
dead.
better.
Okay.
Game on. Get through this.
Not a lot of coordination here.
Routing power to forward barrier.
Okay, so Surefour's got EMP. We've got last fight. We need to get value out of it. We've swapped a Zarya. So Agilities is kind of not getting value out of this Doomfist, so he's gone on to Zarya here for the last fight. We're going to have Nano. Surefour gets killed. So Surefour, where did he have his translocator?
Been here all along. Feeling much better. Ahorita regreso.
Okay, he gets taken out. Still fine. We still have one more fight left in us. They're pushing forward, knowing that we're down one. Really aggressive. Valtal uses barrier, and Banny counters here, right at the choke. Then we nano who? We nano Agilities. So Agilities has just been on his Zarya. He's nanoed, he's chasing them down. We're at 70%.
Огонь по готовности.
They graph us, and with barrier being down, Banny's gonna die, Surefour's gonna die. We're all gonna die.
One cannot survive.
Okay.
Score 0-1.
You don't like Lucioana into this? Why not? Why not, Elk?
Initiating match.
I don't think you can win the backline fight if you've got Zenana. Like, they're playing Doom Sombra. I would not want to play Zenana into that. I don't think you can keep your backline alive against that. Like, if we're going to be playing Zen on the attack in 2CP, I really want a Brigitte. Really want the Brigitte. Crow Nest? Crow nesting isn't a verb, it's a call-out. So this is a crow's nest, and this is a crow's nest. Oh, you're talking about like later on in the fight, because we can go back to it if you want. Yeah, on the initial fight here, they were Sombra Tomb. You're talking about like later on. Later on, we didn't really even get a single coordinated fight.
Feeling powerful.
In this composition, you want Zenana instead? So with them defending against this, you want Canada to be on Zen Ana here instead of Lucio Ana? You say you can't win a fight without the Zen into the tank comp. I hate the beeping. Give me a second. No. Stop beeping. Stop beeping. This, first of all, this is not a composition that like we ran in scrims, so we had no kind of like set counters to it if we ran into this in an actual game. So I haven't thought about this in any detail. I personally think that like how we originally talked about countering this one, because of like how we originally talked about countering this composition when we first saw it like on game day, was that we would be Sombra Doomfist into it. Like the Doomfist can just absolutely abuse the tanks, and there's not a lot that they can do to kind of like punish him. They have no hacks. So, and you can either use it to help peel with the Brigitte, or you can go for the backline dive onto the Zenyatta. I definitely don't like the Hanzo Brigitte. I'll agree with you that that composition was not the right pick here. But when you have the Sombra Doom into that, do you go Luciana or Ana Zen? I'm not sure if there's one that's clearly better than the other. The Lucio is definitely going to allow you to like keep your backline alive longer, and if you're winning with things like EMPs, keeping your backline alive with like the assistance of the Doomfist. Zenyatta would be a lot more effective if you can keep him alive. I'm just not sure if you can. I'd have to scrim with it. I think it's fair for me to claim Fusion Uni were the best Sombra Doom team. One of the most important things in pacing in the slow fights versus tanks and letting them overextend into you. That's fair. You'd have to be able to, like, you'd want to have... In that case, you definitely wouldn't want to be going backline. You want to have your Doomfist in a position where he could peel for it. You know, your Sombra could still be kind of like backline harassing and whatnot and trying to remove the assistance onto whatever goes forward with like Gushui and Late Young, because I don't think Sombra's going to be assisting as much with like Leave and Gushui both being able to interrupt the hacks with their respective bubbles. I don't know. I'd have to scrim it. I haven't scrimmed against this composition very much. Timing with Doom Sombra is the most important thing. Sombra plays a much slower style and hacks the Winston Diva in dives. Would you be able to like reliably get hacks defensively on dives like this? I feel like it'd be really hard to get dives because Leave has been like consistently applying the projected bubble to Gushui on dives in, and then Gushui is bubbling afterwards. Like, you'd be able to hack people if you survive the dive before they can get out. That wouldn't be a problem. But, like, surviving that initial dive, if you're playing Zenyatta, your Doomfist would have to be ready for it and not going for a backline dive. Your Diva would be needing to peel. So, what would your Winston be doing in this composition? Probably still slow and contesting tanks, trying to make their dives as hard and as difficult as possible. I can see it working both ways. Do you want to get into a Discord to call and discuss it, Elk? It's not very hard to dive Zenana, no. As long as you have Discord or the defense matrix on them, you can just eat all their shit. Sure. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yup.
How you doing? So talk about, have you scrimmed or gone against this composition before?
Variations of it, mostly with Hammond over Winston. But yes,
Yeah, with Hammond over Winston, it's a lot easier.
I have with the monkey comp. But mostly my point of it with the Doom Somber is that the worst thing you can do on Doom Somber is try to start fights, because like you don't really have any. Even though you can engage, the main thing Doom Somber does really good is all of your heroes are like super safe all the time. So there are options against your comp, right? Like when you're walking up and you're playing, even if you're on Luciana, they're kind of just diving your backline every fight.
They are.
So in like the ideal setup, you kind of let your front line clear stuff and kind of force them to dive aggressively. So like if I'm playing Anubis there, I would go Zen Ana. I'd have my Zen Ana walk up the right side. I guess from where you're looking at it right now, like the left side from spawn.
Which side?
Like if you're looking at it from the attackers attacking second point, and have them walk up the right stairs.
Yep. So up in this area.
And yeah, sorry, there's a slight delay for me. Yeah, and then I'd pretty much want like there's only a couple things they can do to dive me, right? So the monkey has to engage. The monkey or diva have to engage. They're going to come in with bubble.
Yep.
So as long as I'm saving nade and I don't get nade eaten, I can probably stay alive at least for the initial dive. Step 2 is I have to make sure the Zenyatta isn't going to shoot me. So another important thing about their comp is they don't have very much pressure on my monkey bubble. So if I'm monkey bubbling defensively, we break their bubble first, which we should. Doomfist tries to zone either the monkey or the diva. And I don't get my nade eaten, which is a little bit of a skill match.
That's a bit of an asterisk right there.
I get it's high level, and you do have to execute well. But I think that I actually had this conversation with Fusions after Season 1 contenders.
Yeah.
When they rolled us playing tanks, and he pretty much told me that he thought our counter comps were better, but that if we made mistakes, it was too easy to punish. And I kind of feel the same way about goats in the current meta. Whereas, like, if you can execute the Doomfist Somber comp correctly, which is like pushing up, taking space, making sure you're not overextending in the front line so you can still get back to your support line, and your support line isn't so out of position where they're like easily diveable, it is definitely a better comp into goats. But like, I think one of the main issues you guys were making is you were late on comp swaps, getting snowballed by ults. Surefour, I think his playstyle is wrong into this comp.
He was playing differently in this matchup than he normally plays. Like he spent a lot of time invisible in the backline in like the middle of this engagement. So yes, like there's definitely, in terms of how we were playing here, it was being played a lot worse than we normally would. But so I'm not gonna disagree there. But with like there's the complication here in that with like if they're respawning onto things like Doomfist or anything that can kind of go after the Zenyatta, I don't think the hesitation that I would have is that all of this works really well. First of all, if you can kind of avoid getting your shit defense matrixed. But then when you're actually kind of, if we have cleared them out, if we have tanked their dive and made them overextend, and our Doomfist is peeling, and our Sombra is there looking for the hacks to either punish on a counter push or whatnot, even if we do all of that correctly and we move to the point, I still feel like the Ana Zenyatta is like a really big weakness. And if we have a finisher in the form of like an EMP or a Doomfist, which can just, punch people and kill them and do their normal combos and whatnot, we don't need the big benefit of having the Discord in order to burn through the gigantic health pools of their tanks. So they're not running like, Moira. They're running triple kind of like off supports with the Brigitte, Lucio, and Zenyatta. So they're like, their support ultimates are to be hard to get through. But other than the support ultimates, I don't think we truly need to get the Discord involved in order to kind of win in that stagger phase.
I definitely get what you mean, but it's not just about the Discord. So we talked about the dry fight, right? In the dry fight with no ults, the pressure is much more on the Ana Zen to stay alive than it is on the goat comp to dive them. But as soon as you start getting ults, you realize all of the ults make your defensive fight easier than it does their attacking fight. So EMP immediately wins you a fight because their tanks are then overextended.
Yep.
Doomfist ult lets the Doomfist solo pressure Zenyatta while you take a 5v5 and you win because they don't have Discord. Nano lets you nano your other support, which is like probably one of the most underutilized tools, I think, especially into dives.
We've seen it actually quite a few times in these playoffs.
So it's like The reason it's good is because once you start getting space or you have ults, you kind of force them to either overcommit and like grab Diva Bomb you, which yeah, they're probably gonna win if they grab Diva Bomb you, but that's probably gonna happen anyway. But like their support ults don't really matter. Rally doesn't really matter. Primal doesn't really matter. So like you can use your ults in like much more strategic ways rather than, in my opinion, with the Lucio Ana here, it feels like you're trying to go fast, and I don't think you can ever go fast. Like the reason you're playing Lucio here in my head is you want to keep the Ana safe.
Yeah, so we're not trying to play fast. Like, so the entire time we've been trying to be forced out of Crow's Nest there. I think you're underselling like the value of like Barrier and Transcendence, especially if we are considering that we're using EMP like to catch them on overextended dives. And
Right,
so,
but here's the thing: if you EMP and you hit Diva and they trance, you have anti. If you EMP
if
and
you
they try
didn't
to
use
beat,
it already, like because you used it already earlier in the fight, like in the thought process, in order to keep yourself alive against the initial dive.
so what Zach would do a lot for Fusion Uni is, as they're jumping, he will EMP. So like they are landing without cooldowns.
Yeah, which would
Bernard
require
is
our
usually
Sombra in
with
this
us.
case to be playing differently, but yes.
Yeah. So our off tank would then sit kind of like with our backline, so he can be the person zoning the tanks. If I get Harmony orbed, I can just pocket alarm. I don't need to nade. Best case, I can sleep because they're hacked. I should hit it 98% of the time. I really shouldn't be fucking that up. That's pretty bad on me if I do. So like I do agree that the outplay is way more on the side of the Sombra Doom comp, but I do think it's important to like. I think trying to clear high ground here while like fine cannot be done with Lucio Ana, because the main advantage you have over their comp is because they're on Zen Lucio, they don't really have that much frontline healing. So like you can pretty easily chunk down their tanks and force them to engage, and then when you force them to engage, the only goal is to live. If you live through their like initial dive, you're almost immediately favored in the fight.
And why are you saying that Lucio Ana isn't as good at like clearing this Crow's Nest position?
Because you don't like, okay, Lucio's not healing the people at the Crow's Nest. Zen could orb. Zen
Yeah, but
could
you still have
Discord,
the
Zen-
Ana advantage, right? Like you could,
Yeah, no,
if
you
you're in
definitely
the
have a
LOS.
heal advantage.
Yeah.
But you don't have enough damage with the people who are going to be pressuring that. Like your Doom's not going to be rolling out to dive there, right? You're probably
No.
like Monkey Diva, maybe Sombra spam. You're not forcing the tanks to drop early enough because the Zenyatta orb plus Brig E can tend to be enough healing. Right?
I just want to scrim this.
Oh no, I mean this was one of my favorite metas to scrim because every team tried playing tank comps into us, and like you saw what happened when we played XL2. I'm not saying XL2 were a great GOATS team at the time, but like once you get in the habit on the Doomfist Sombra comp of like how to pace your fights, a lot of teams get baited really, really easily into trying to dive your Ana Zen and just getting completely shredded because they weren't necessarily ready for like the setup you had.
So
I
like, the
think that-
main reason you're suggesting Ana Zen is to kind of use that into a bait to have the defenders overextend on you so you can punish them with kind of Sombra and Doomfist who are waiting for that.
Yeah, because okay, so I guess my objective point is if you're playing Sombra Doomfist, you are trying to bait your backline because the advantage your DPS have is they both have a lot of mobility. They're not going to get picked off. So your backline is the focal point of the comp. And if you're doing that, assuming you have good positioning, you shouldn't be needing speed. And by giving up speed and having good positioning with the Ana Zen, you also have a lot more pressure on their divers to kill them quicker.
Mm-hmm. So it's an
It's like-
entirely
it's
different way of
similar.
playing, really. With the Ana and the Lucio, you're kind of like staying on an aggressive footing. You know, you're trying to force people out, and then you can react to the dive itself if they try and kind of force something. But with the Ana and the Zenyatta, go ahead.
When we play it on a Lucio, the main reason we play it is to trade backlines.
Trade backlines, even when you're
So-
going for 2CPB.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is I would probably never play it here. I think that the strength of the Lucio Ana is you have so much mobility and so much healing that if you're in a dive mirror, they live almost 100% of the time. In fact, Fusion Uni against Team USA only played Ana Zen on pretty much every map until they started pulling out Doomfist Sombra, and we realized like they can kill our backline easier than we had anticipated. So now we have to get off Ana Zen. We have to try to figure out some other stuff, and that's how we kind of got to the Lucio Ana as like the comp we'd play to get away from dives. Whereas Alarm and I were both comfortable people who don't know Alarm being the flex support who was on Fusion University. Alarm and I were both comfortable taking 2v2s with tanks. Because, like, if you're on Zen Ana, you trust your Ana to sleep one of the tanks, you focus the other tank, you pocket your Zen. Worst case, you nade yourself. So, like, yes, there's, like, a lot of skill shots involved in that. But if you do it a lot and you practice it a lot, it's not the hardest thing to execute. And the upside is just, like, they lose the fight.
Yeah.
Right?
It's probably the best upside you can have, right? Just outskill the opponent's forehead.
Yeah, and you're not using ults to do it.
Interesting way of thinking of it. If it's a different way of playing it, and I think it requires definitely a high skill ceiling. You know, if you fuck that up, you know, if your shit gets eaten or you miss or anything like that, it's definitely got more weaknesses to it. Like it's
100%. It's a much harder comp to execute, and it's very patient in a sense that can make players uncomfortable. So a lot of the times you're waiting there and you're like for me on Ana, since I'm normally the person who calls when to either counter dive or trade, since I like know if I'm gonna die or not, it feels like every fight is my fault. Because like
it is.
Not only
You're
am I
terrible.
making that call, but it's also like I have to hit the sleep on the diva. I have to like nade my Zen and keep him up in time and stuff like that. But it is really rewarding in the sense where if you like rotate and execute correctly, you have situations like when we played XL2 in the finals of Contenders where like we 4-0'd them in 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the number of time actually spent in maps.
Yeah, there's
in
a bit of a difference between Fusion University and XL2 though.
Yeah, true. We also played against Team USA a lot, and what would happen versus Team USA is they kind of shied away from goats against us, mostly because when we played Doom Sombra on a Zen, we had a really good way of, on maps that at least had high ground, like playing slow, forcing them to either push into us and overextend or like give up space. But I do think that just like conceptually, the Lucio on a Sombra Doom doesn't really beat 3-3.
It's interesting to me hear this opinion from you. Like, I don't think that you would argue with me when I say that Fusion University has probably the most talented or skilled players compared to the people that they're playing against, right? So Fusion University, you've got Alarm, you've got Who Are You, you've got yourself, you've got Beast Halo, you've got some insane talents on that team. And this is kind of one of the things that Canada did or found out, is that when we were playing Zenyatta and Ana, and we were playing it not as explicitly baity as you were, but we very much considered like the Ana and the Zenyatta a greedy composition, where it works if you can get away with it. It works if you can just outskill the opponent, or if the opponent doesn't have like really clearly executed dives. But against better opponents, we found that it was like the crack in the windshield. It was the glaring weakness that a truly coordinated dive team could much more easily exploit. And one of the clearest examples of that was like Team USA. So I just wonder if you would have the same opinion if you were consistently facing more skilled opponents.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean. The strength of the comp is your playstyle can completely change with one support swap. So we did scrim a lot versus Team USA, and what we would do is on defense, almost always we would play Ana Zen.
You got away with Ana Zen against Team USA?
On defense, almost always, because the way you set it up is
but on attack. First and second
Well,
points.
that's what I'm saying. On attack, we'd swap depending on what they're on. If they're playing this 3-3, we probably go Ana Zen to counter. When they swap to try to like hold the point in, let's say we swap, we win this first fight, they're defending on point, and they swap to like Doomfist Sombra, or they just swap Zarya to Doomfist and they're playing 3 supports, 2 tanks, Doomfist. That fight is going to be harder to win, but I don't think you can win this front fight without swapping. Like the advantage that defenders will always have on 2CP is they swap to counterpick you going into second. But this meta right now feels so polarized that you're not going to find a comp that beats like their initial defense and then also gets point if they're holding this aggressive. And I'd rather be in a position as a player where like if I hit the sleep on the Doomfist who dives me, we win the fight, than trying to somehow burn through effectively like 2,000 HP on 2CP.
Interesting take.
I do think it's close, by the way, and I do think it's more of an opinion and a play style rather than like
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
A
And how
hard
you want
line.
it to work. It's
The other thing is like I can't speak for other teams, but like I could pretty consistently rely on Alarm to like literally just destroy everything. So like if you nanoed him, he would kill anybody.
okay. I'm gonna bring
So
Arrow
like
in.
I think that was a lot of the strength of our Arrow's coming too. Oh, exciting!
If he
I haven't
wants
talked
to
Arrow in
join,
so
I'm
long.
not sure. Arrow, did you want to join this conversation? What else
did
say
Elk say
about
about
team? He's talking shit.
I said Fusion Uni. No, Fusion Uni went pretty even with
Oh,
Team
you're
USA.
super sick. We're just having a very, very, very in-depth conversation about whether it's better to, or not really whether it's better, but which play style is different to attack into this composition that China is playing. Whether you go with Ana and Lucio and try and more aggressively take space and force tanks out of positions and then tank the dives, or if you play Ana Zen forward into this so that you have the Discord in order to kind of burn through their high tank, like their high health pools, and then play your Ana and Zenyatta in a way that kind of baits your opponents to overextending onto you so that you can punish. So the Lucio and the Zen swap isn't just kind of for the chat. This is not to Arrow. Arrow understands, but to chat. So we're talking about the difference between Lucio and Zenyatta isn't just like plug and play a different support. It's that plugging and play the Zenyatta and the Lucio when you're playing into this defensive composition from China entirely changes the play style required to win. And we're discussing which one of those two play styles is the better one.
And the other thing that Zach might do here, I would have to ask him, but a lot of times he'll be in a position on Sombra where he feels like even though it's good, it's just too hard to find space. So that would happen sometimes. Like Moth, for instance, on Team USA would be like, Moth was crazy good about pressuring Zach before fight started. Like Moth would go out of his way to make sure Zach had to locate back prior to us starting fights, which was really, really annoying because it meant he was normally out of position for the hacks on tanks. So into that, for instance, Zach would normally change it up. So sometimes we would go on a Zen Brig, and we would say, okay, we're going to really tank the dive. We're going to like hard pocket one person, try to live that way. Or he would go like, I think it was mostly just Brig. I think he would mostly flex between Brig Sombra.
This just makes me want to scrim. That's all this.
No, it's totally fair.
When's the last time you scrimmed? Have you started scrimming yet?
No, 5 days.
5 days? Okay, 5 days until you start scrimming. That'll be good.
I do think too that the playstyle changes are pretty big. Like I don't know if you watched Contenders, but we played a lot of Ana Brig.
Mm-hmm. I loved the Ana Brig. I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as useful with kind of the threat of goats. I don't think it's as...
It is definitely a lot worse with how tank dominant the metas become.
Yeah.
But
otherwise, I
during
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, in the time it was because we realized that if we want to be playing two supports that can have high ground control but also peeling, Brig just did more to peel than Lucio did.
So much. You just like nade yourself in the Brig, and the Brig just gets right in the face of the divers, stuns them,
Yeah.
and allows your other support to kite away. It's so good. It's so good.
It ended up working out really well, and like even that was a completely different playstyle change for us. So I think that the trap people fall into in playing Sombra Doom is they try to play it like dive, and it's not. At least from my point of view as an IGL, it functions so much differently than dive that it's like a really weird hybrid kind of. Because occasionally you're diving, but you're normally not pre-comming your dives, and unless you're on defense and already like set up to dive somewhere, you're normally not trying to like dive a certain area. You're more just trying to bait them over and over to overextend into you, and then letting your Doomfist look for one-shots, your Sombra look for hacks, and your backline to pop off.
Yeah, Doomfist Sombra is a little bit of an interesting composition where it's the one where you're going to be the most proactive when you're on the defense and the most reactive when you're on the offense. Kind of different to how you'd play in any other form of dive. Oh, well, thanks for coming on and kind of sharing your opinion on the matter. Did you have anything else you wanted to point out or talk about?
No, that's all. I mean, I also really want to scrim, and I also want to do ash pugs, so maybe do some ash pugs.
Want to do them tomorrow? We're doing some
sure.
tier 3 and up pugs tomorrow if you want to join in.
I'll do ash pugs tomorrow.
Cool. See you then.
Seems pug. Okay. See ya.
Talk to you later, Elk. Okay. Hope your guys' brain hurts. I'll send you a message, Boostio. Thanks, Elk. Appreciate it.
Score 0-1. Switching sides.
Okay. I think China tries to go with Doomfist Genji here. Is that what China tries here? You know, the only real difference in this composition for us is if we think the opponent is ever going to attempt like a tank rush or not trying to do any sort of hard dive, then we'll go Ana Zen and change the positioning of our supports. But other than that, against a dive, we'll go Mercy Zen. It's better, easier to kind of hard pocket one single target, especially through things like Winston bubbles. And even if one target does get deleted, you can res them back up. Okay, so China... Oh, for some reason I thought they went Doom Genji here, but I guess not. They're just playing... Oh, nope, they do. Memory is not wrong. Now, one of the weird things about here is that Doomfist wants to set up in some sort of rollout because, like, the uppercut in Doomfist's jump-in combo is so important that in order for him to dive from low ground to high ground, he would need to use his, like, you know, probably uppercut and then kind of seismic slam in. So he's going to want to use some sort of, like, set position here or rollout in order to execute this first dive. Doesn't look like he's going to do it. So he just punches in. So instead of trying to go right for a dive, they're just going to rotate all of them into the left side. Genji gets taken out. Yeah, I don't know why Crystal was trying to do that. Why was Crystal trying to do that? Crystal walked in the right side. Destroys the Venomine. Note pushes him, dashes out, gets shot by Surefall. So yeah, now XQC is immediately moving over to try and stuff them. Note sets up this nice little crossfire. A lot of damage. Slept. Note's woken up. He's fine here. And then Agility is kind of with that nice damage and cleave. Sorry, not cleave, just area. We just push in. So Note goes in the back to make sure that crossfire is up and can hit the retreating people. And then knowing that they're one down, we're fine moving in with our Orisa and our Junkrat down here to kind of just stuff them and pinch them in that little area. Okay, where is Leave? Are you going to do any sort of... Okay, so there's the nano onto Gushui, but I'm more interested in how Leave is going to get to the high ground. So he's not going to. Okay, so Crystal is diving in. Gushui is nanoed and coming in. And Agility is going to pop the tire. Her tire is probably going to find Crystal. It does. So not super impressed with these first two dives from China. You know, they even nanoed Gushui in, but Leave wasn't able to join the dive. And then Crystal was in there. It doesn't look like they're kind of trying to do soft dives to build ultimates faster or anything like that. Just these are poorly executed dives so far. No, you can Widow on attack here. It's just not very strong. Where's Leave this time? Why am I blind? Where's Leave? How in the fuck?
I'm feeling unstoppable.
Did we not see this? Oh my god. We didn't scout this. Oh man, this setup with them like Surefor's not looking here either. Oh, brutal. Brutal. Oh man. Okay. This is bad. So this this is really bad here. Now with their next dive, like they're not going to have ultimates for this fight. But that's fine. But Leave is now that same kind of disadvantage with low ground to high ground dives does not exist. He has a high ground to low ground dive, which is going to do more damage, allow him to pick his target or remove Surefor from this fight. So let's take a look at this dive from Leave's perspective. Can't believe we didn't scout this. Okay. Everyone else coming in the choke. Leave's just chilling. Doesn't even want to grab that health pack.
Sniper, keep your head down. I am securing the objective.
Poor Agilities. That's going to get rezzed, though.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
Surprised that was Leave's decision. I'm surprised Leave's decision was to go for Surefor like that. So, it's likely that what Leave expected to have happen here is he punched in, but the punch, so he kind of jump punched. I'm pretty sure you can punch all the way across. So the first thing that's a little bit interesting about what Leave does here is that he decides whenever you see this where you punch and then cancel in order to kind of carry your momentum, this means you're wanting to combo it into an uppercut. And one of the things that Leave is going to be doing here, right? So he's going to punch across, but you'll see him hit space to exit the punch and carry his momentum over to Surefour. Right? So there's the punch. There's the cancel right there. Right here, he's canceled it. So the momentum is coming up. Now he's going to want to uppercut. Now Leave likely thinks that Surefour is going to grapple over here. Right? Parallel high grounds are really strong. But if Surefour grapples there after Leave has uppercutted him, Leave can seismic slam that area, and now Surefour can't escape. But instead of this happening, there's the uppercut. Instead of trying to grapple away, Surefour big brains Leave and just grapples down. And this really fucks up Leave, because if Leave wants to use his seismic slam against Surefour, he's going to have to do a targeted seismic slam directly downwards. And a seismic slam, if you've played Doomfist, you know that a directly targeted seismic slam directly down only does 20 damage. It's 22. But at the peak of an uppercut, if you seismic slam down, it does 22 damage, which with Surefour's health right now, not only does the grapple pull him out of the movement lock of uppercut, but it prevents Leave from being able to follow up on this with the seismic slam. So one of the things that Leave could have done here instead would be to seismic slam across and then uppercut. That would get more damage in. And then if he did grapple away, you could follow with punch instead of initiating with punch. So I just find it interesting the order of operations that Leave used in order to execute onto Surefour there. And it didn't work out. And everybody else dies. So that unscouted dive from Leave doesn't work out, even though it was a really good play from him to kind of try and stay in and be unscouted between fights. He still got a kill because he accidentally fell onto agilities, right? Lol. But anyway. Okay, next fight. So sub 2 minutes. This is going pretty well for us so far. We've got 4 ultimates. China has the Nanoblade. Crimzo's coming up on the... Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so there's the punch. Was Leave trying to get altitude using that punch? I think he was. I think he was trying to jump off of that block, but he fucks up. So Leave has fucked 3 out of 4 of these dives. Supercharger comes down. Crimzo has trance now. And Veltal's going to beat, but Late Young didn't get it. So another poorly executed dive from China. Like, it's China just getting like overly confident here or something? I'm not quite sure. But these attacks from China have been really, really subpar. So Gushui's in Primal as well. It's a great juggle onto agilities, but Banny's in Valkyrie, so that shouldn't really matter. Crimzo dies without trancing. Is this something that he thought that the fight was already won? Let's take a look at this again. So why did Crimzo elect to die with trance? We still have res, so Crimzo also could have expected that Banny would be able to res him back up. Let's see this again. Why did Crimzo not trance this? Veltal gets demech'd. They barrier. Only supercharger. He probably just died so that he could get rezzed back up. Banny's not going to have res yet for another like 8 seconds, though. Oh, he does have res. Okay. There's Blade from Crystal. Oh, Crystal does get 2. What a great Blade. Let's look at that again. Oh, man. Good deflect. Deflect tanks agility's melee. See this again? So if he hadn't reflected, agilities would have killed him with the melee. Doesn't even get nano. Or did he? No, he didn't get nano, did he? Misses that. Pulls his blade out. Agilities hits that pipe. Doesn't hit the second one. One dash. Sure, for doing some damage. Boom. Yeah, okay. It was close. Just could have closed. Agilities could have hit one more shot. Crystal could have not reflected that melee, but he survives with like 24 HP remaining. Notes bombs coming out, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Banny has the res, still hasn't used it. Crystal's chasing him down. And that's just a cleanup for China. And Crimson also could have been saving Trance there in order to have it for, like, to make sure that we don't get steamrolled. So he could just be being extra cautious to make sure that no matter what happens in that fight, China won't be able to snowball second point, which is a completely valid reason not to do so. Okay, so China is playing Doomfist Brigida. That's not something standard, but let's see how it works out for them. Kushui is just going to make sure that we can't chase in from behind. China has Bomb and Meteor Strike. They're probably just staying on this for Meteor Strike, and if it fails, they'll swap. Okay, let's see how they execute this. On our composition here, we should be able to like stuff them pretty hard. We've got the Zenyatta. Oh, huge anti from Crimzo here. You know, we have the Zenyatta and the Hanzo again. So should be able to put a lot of damage down different sight lines. XQC's bubble is going to allow him to cleave people into the temple, as well as split Sky off from the rest of the team. Leave is punching in, but he's still antied. Goes for the uppercut, and then immediately for the seismic slam back down on the ground. Trying to punch XQC back into his team. But he Meteor Strikes instead. Okay, XQC's going to get that health back. Jump back in.
Into the iris.
I missed Leave coming down. Leave came down in on Banny and Surefour.
Meteor strike.
Gets Surefour. Where's our Brigida during that? So one of the things that I would like to have happen, what was Agility's doing during that Meteor Strike?
Meteor strike.
Meteor Strike, I'd like to see Agility's kind of immediately return to... Oh, so he returns to Crimzo. Okay, so Agility's plays that as well as he can, really. But Banny and Surefour, and then Surefour leaps right into it and gets taken out. Bomb comes out. Agility saves himself. They're going to combo down Leave here. They're going to try and combo down Leave. How did they fuck that up? So, shoot. Oh, so he went into the wake up animation. So they were gonna do it right, but Leave just woke up like a split second before they tried to execute it. So it should have been shoot, nade, and then as Crimzo's doing his thing, Agility should be able to get one swing in before stunning. But he woke up before that happened. Sky takes out XQC. What happened there? Veltal comes for the peel. And Crystal comes for the peel. Nice. Now they're at an advantage. Leave punches note, hits the wall. Discord's enough to finish him off. Okay. Trades, though. Trades. Surefour manages to get Veltal. We live for another fight.
Pass into the iris.
Defense matrix activated.
How is this fight initiated? XQC's on the high ground here. Are they going to try and push him out? So they're not, so XQC can jump down at his leisure.
Routing power to forward shields.
Little slow, not bad. Agility's uppercut is going to mess up Gushue's jump. Crystal bashes XQC, but the focus isn't on him. Oh, Late Young's peeling as well. XQ goes up and bubbles. Primals.
Defense matrix activated.
They've got Trance. What do we have? We have Nano and Trance of our own pretty soon. As long as Crimson stays alive for it. So their Trance is ending. They've got Rally and Primal, which is unfortunate. I don't think we're going to be able to take Crystal out despite having the Discord on him. Or we had the Discord on him. And then Crimson gets taken out by Late Young. That's tough. Because we were like 97% to Trance there or something like that, right? 84, 85. 99. Agilities is going to die here. Is he going to get out? Yeah. That's just going to be a cleanup.
Pass into the iris.
Defense matrix activated.
Rhine comps aren't very strong on Anubis. Excuse me, hits Crystal, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Agility's in, gets the bubble, doesn't kill anybody. And that's it. Okay. Kind of a really sloppy really sloppy fight to close things out. But that's how she be sometimes. It's how she be sometimes. So, I feel like it's rough to review your own team. It's really rough to review your own team. But after like the first push on second failed.
You better get out of the way.
Which one is this? After this fight failed right here, I just felt like everybody kind of deflated and almost. It's not like they stopped caring, but it's almost like they had accepted their fate. So huge blade, you know, they pulled off the nano combo pretty successfully. Like we kill 5. We're gonna get Crystal as well, and then Leave just takes out XQC on a super lucky kill. You know, we're still up. We've got ult to keep it going. They nano him, or they nano D.Va to stall. Not really a big deal. We're still gonna stay in it. We're not gonna have any losses from it. Genji comes back in. Then on top of that, Surefour cancels Crystal's EMP. You know, Gushue gets taken out by the bomb. Leave is gonna kill XQC here momentarily. Like, Leave kills XQC again, and then he's gonna get a 3rd kill off of a meteor strike. So I feel like after this fight here, this fight was like the last fight that was like really anything that showed kind of what Canada was capable of. After this, Canada looked like they kind of shut down. Playing things off script, a lot of like composition swaps that maybe weren't needed, or composition swaps where, you know, the lack of composition swaps where we could have done it in order to better counter the triple tank defense. And then the attacks were also just way sloppier. So it's a disappointing end to a series. You know, it was really close on Oasis. Canada definitely could have taken Oasis. Blizzard World defense really didn't go that badly. There was like on 3rd, there was one mistake where we had poor timing of ultimates and we weren't able to hold, and China got the full cap. And then after that, like our attack on Blizzard World was pretty like, it was just, I keep saying it, but it's a comedy of errors. How many things went wrong on the attack of Blizzard World, you know, and all of them, all of the errors on Blizzard World weren't kind of like major faults. The decisions that Canada was making on Blizzard World attack made sense kind of in context. You could kind of understand why Banny was staying on Zenyatta. You could understand why we were trying to, you know, execute backline dives onto China's Ana and Zenyatta, and why those weren't working out. You know, China got lucky with like tanking one of those dives. The really unfortunate kind of EMP from Surefour on Blizzard World, it was really the thing that sunk our first point attack, which, you know, would have kept us in the game, would have kept us going into 2nd and 3rd, and maybe been able to go to extra rounds on Blizzard World. But yeah, our attack here getting stalled out after such a beautiful execution, and, you know, Leave just getting 3 kills unassisted in the contest phase to turn things around and allow China to hold on. Like, can you imagine like the momentum shift here, if Canada had capped Temple of Anubis with like 6 minutes and 30 seconds instead of having this attack fail and then just, you know, ram their heads against the wall for 6 minutes. It's an unfortunate turn of events, and it could have been a lot closer. I think China played really well. They prepped really well for us, and they played really well, but Canada certainly could have done better. So it's hard. I was not looking forward to today in terms of having to review this match, but there we go. That was the China-Canada game. That one was chaotic. And the other thing about, like, you can kind of feel how, like, defeated Canada was here halfway through Anubis. And if you remember how day 2 went, right? Like, look at the times here. November 3rd, 12:30 p.m. November 3rd, 2:30 p.m. So we went right off of this, like, really crushing defeat against China immediately into the bronze medal game. And that game, of course, or that series went to 5 maps. But, yeah, you win some, you lose some, you get outplayed. Sometimes luck is not on your side, and you get 0-3'd by China. But, do you guys have any questions? Do you have any questions about that series? About Canada's? Just anything? Open floor for questions about this match or series? When you were at the World Cup, did you ever get the chance to talk to the team while they were on stage? Yes, between maps. I could talk to them between maps, but only for about 30 to 60 seconds or so. Bronze match was better than the gold? Yes, I probably won't re-reviewing the gold medal match, honestly. It wasn't that exciting. What is Note's playstyle like? He likes to take neutral stances. Probably favors more towards peeling than being offensive. But in kind of really scary situations, Note recognizes where he needs to clutch and will do so. Very good comms in terms of reminding people of, you know, what to do, keeping people aware of threats. He doesn't micro other people, but he's just a constant source of, you know, good information for his teammates. He is the epitome of the glue that holds a team together. Thoughts on XQC? He did very well. You know, he didn't play as well as somebody like Fader Gouchway, but Fader Gouchway have been living in the professional scene for the last how many months. So I think XQC played well. I think he played well. To play any better than XQC played probably would have required him to be scrimming on a pro team for a lot longer than he did. But, you know, he was not in any way kind of like dead weight on the team. He still played really well. And I don't think there was a weak link on Canada. I don't think there was. I think everyone played well. Which non-OWL player impressed you the most? Non-OWL player. Well, Leave's not OWL, right? Isn't he underage? How long do you think Goats is going to last? Well, until they change the balance patch, right? Who's the primary shot caller on Team Canada? Team Canada had more of kind of like a style where Banny was definitely the person who talked during like the break between fights and whatnot and tracked ultimates and kind of suggested plans or whatnot. But anyone on Canada could, if they saw an opportunity, call for a play. So there was not like a singular primary shot caller like UK had with Fusions. XQC said something about the World Cup not taking place next year. Can you confirm this? I can't confirm it, but that's definitely been the rumor that's been going around. What are your opinion on the differences between Agilities and Mangachu's Doomfists? Agilities and Mangachu's Doomfists. Agilities is much more of a player who's kind of like skirmishy on Doomfist, who goes in and then retreats out. Constantly like resetting to look for opportunities, where Mangachu is more likely to all in and try and get a few kills and trade. Mangachu will stay in a fight for a lot longer than Agilities will. Why no World Cup? It's expensive, and they could put the money into All-Stars instead. Who do you think was the MVP of China? Gouchway and Leave, both of them. I can't really pick one or the other. Why was there only Hanzo on damage for second point of Anubis? That would have been Surefour's decision to play Hanzo there. What counters Flying Goats? Somber Tomb. Yeah, I don't know. I like World Cup way more than All-Stars, but hey. And nothing's official, right?